At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ dára púpọ̀, ẹ̀kọ́ ló láyé táwa yìí sẹ́, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá, ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dẹni gíga, ẹ̀kọ́ ló ń gbé ní dépò ọlá, ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹ̀yin òbí wa, lẹ́bà lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa. Ẹ̀dàkúnyé ẹni òbí wa, lẹ́bàá lówó kẹjọ kẹtọ́ wa.
Peace, family. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Huru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. I apologize. It's been a minute since we've been on, since we've been live. I was talking to my brother, Fitzgerald Stevens, earlier this morning. He was like, Dynasty, you haven't been live in a minute. I'm like, you're right. It's been over a month. I have not been live. So I was like, he's like, you got to engage with the people. You got to get back going live. Because I've been uploading a lot of content from previous trips. Again, I've been uploading a lot of content from previous trips. But he was like, Dynas, you gotta go live. And I was just like, okay, I'll go live. So we're going to be back on well, I can't say that because we head to Benin Republic in a couple weeks. Well, not even a couple weeks. Next week, next Friday, we head to Benin Republic for the Voodoo Festival. So yeah, did I turn that light off? Okay, that's the reflection from that light. Okay. Yeah, so it's going to be a minute. In fact, you know what, guys? In fact, I'll be fine. I don't need to grab it. So we're good to go. Yeah, so looking forward to that. Guys, hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. I will greatly appreciate it. Again, I will greatly appreciate it. Again, please like, share, and subscribe. Got a couple of announcements. So we are rolling to Senegal. So we're going to Benin next week. Next Friday, we head to Benin. From Benin, in May, the next trip, we are headed to, Senegal. We are headed to Senegal for in fact, I need to update this. So I need to add the Senegal video on here. I'll make it the main video right here. So we are headed to Senegal. That will be May 27th through June 4th. May 27th through June 4th. We are headed to Senegal. If you're interested in joining us for the Jazz Festival, in Senegal, please visit Danfo. That's DANFO. .Africa. Again, please visit DANFO, Danfo.Africa. Also, we are going to Nigeria, August 3rd to the 12th. That is for the Oshun Festival. So if you're interested in joining us in Nigeria for the Oshun Festival, please visit Danfo.Africa. And then we are going to Zanzibar in September 21st to the 30th for Safari Blue. So if you're interested, please visit Danfo.Africa. Just got back from Sierra Leone a couple weeks ago, and no passports were given. Unfortunately, no passports were given. It is what it is. Hopefully the government will, I guess, make some type of official announcement in regards to how that's going to look like moving forward. We don't know yet. So no passports were given. But we had a great time. We still had a great time in Sierra Leone. You know, we ate good. You know, we had our midday and 10-day reunions. Let's see here. Shout out, Merry Christmas, Merry belated Christmas, Happy belated Christmas, or Merry belated Christmas, however that works. Um, yeah, Happy, Merry belated Christmas to everyone. Hopefully, you had an opportunity to spend time with friends and family and hang out and kick it. I don't know, drink some eggnog, kiss the one you love under the mistletoe, um, all that good stuff. So yeah, but you know, Sierra Leone, had a great time in Sierra Leone, and I'm thinking about in November. So doing 2 tours. Shout out to the homie Tyler Tooks in the chat room. Shout out to you. Tyler's been on a couple tours. He came to Sierra Leone with me and got his citizenship, and he also rolled with me to Senegal last year. No, we're still in 2024. Earlier this year in May, he rode this the Senegal with me. So shout out to Tyler, who's in the house. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the support. It really means a lot. So what was I saying? Yeah, so in November, probably doing 2 tours. So Namibia, so like Cape Town, and then going to Namibia, and then doing Sierra Leone and Liberia. I'm not sure yet. But for sure in November, and I'll be announcing the November trip. Hopefully, probably by no later than, if I got to put that together today, by Saturday, by the weekend, um, Namibia. So we're going to Namibia in November, guys. We're going to Namibia in November. I want to do it sooner, but you know, there's a jazz festival in Cape Town, but they're not really. Let me look. They're not really being responsive in regards to letting us know what they're gonna do. For 2025. You know, so and we're about 5 months out, and I know it'll be last minute for a lot of people if I were to go ahead and plan the jazz festival um in I'll go to the Cape Town of South Africa in May and Namibia. So I'm just like, listen, we're just gonna go anyway. So we're going to Namibia. So we'll do Cape Town. So we'll do Robben Island, Clifton's Beach, and all that. So we'll do that. We'll start off there. Then we'll head to Namibia, and we'll do the sand dunes, see the Himba, and then spend some time at Windhoek. So that's what it's looking like. So, okay, yeah. In fact, y'all, we're doing Cape Town and Namibia in November. In fact, I'll give you guys the dates right now. Guys, give me a second. Hold on, give me 2025 November calendar. So it'll be the 16th. No, it'll be the 9th. Yeah, we'll leave out on that Sunday. So the 9th of November, return on the 19th. So the 9th to the 19th. So then, we'll arrive in South Africa on the 10th, 11, 12, 13, 3 days at Cape Town. 14th early that morning. Oh, come on, Dinos. 14th early that morning, head to Windhoek. 15th, 16th. Or we'll probably leave. Yeah, we'll leave 14th. It's a couple days in Windhoek, then Sand Dunes. As long as we see the Himba, do Sand Dunes, then we'll head out on the 19th. Yeah, so that's how it's looking like. So yeah, November. We'll roll to Cape Town in Namibia in November. Let me look up something real quick. And yeah, today's topic, I don't know what exactly is a tether. Does somebody explain what a tether is? And if you're watching it, in fact, before we even get to today's topic, when you watch, guys, make sure you go to Donfo.Africa. Oh, and the Dynasty Mirror site is going to be back up here by the new year. So the Africa is My Therapy shirts, the Donfo shirts, all that's going to be back available to purchase on the site. But guys, make sure you go to Donfo.Africa if you haven't. Sign up for the notification list. Yeah, and I want to get into that because it's just the problem I have with the whole Tether, this whole Tether or anti-Tether movement is like you want to blame an outside group and point fingers at the African and Caribbean immigrants, but the majority of the blockage and the problems comes from within. That comes from within, so-called FBA ADOS. I think everything needs to be sorted from within first before we start pointing fingers at outside groups. That's just me, from what I observe. But make sure you guys go to Donfo.Africa and sign up, enroll in the email list. I would greatly appreciate that. Yeah, so let's jump into today's topic. I'm gonna put the link in the chat room. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, you can. You just want to add in general, you're more than welcome to, guys. Make sure you hit that like button again. Please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and make sure you subscribe. But link is in the chat room if you want to call in and add to the conversation. And go Dogs. We play in the Sugar Bowl January 1st. We play Notre Dame. Notre Dame is my second favorite school. University of Georgia. I am somebody said a tether is a person that's doing better in America than the average Negro. Okay. So I am University UGA alumni all the way. So we play in the quarterfinals of this football playoff. Football playoffs is interesting. I actually watched last Friday. I went to an event at Bankhead Seafood. If you guys aren't familiar with Bankhead Seafood, that's the restaurant that was opened by Killer Mike and T.I. So I went there and I watched some of the Indiana and Notre Dame game. And it's get out of here, Marie. Oh, here we go, Marie. Don't start with me. Hey, don't start with me, Marie. Don't start with me. None of that Ohio stuff in here. None of that Ohio stuff over here. Don't start, Marie. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing, okay? UGA all day. Okay, UGA all day, okay? See, you got people in here already set tripping. Already set tripping. But anyways, quarterfinals, UGA. We play in a couple weeks. I cannot wait. I am looking forward to it. We are going to smash Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is my second favorite school. I tell people, if Lou Holtz would have stayed at Notre Dame while I was being recruited, I would have committed and went to Notre Dame. I grew up a Notre Dame fan. Rocket Ismail, Jerome Bettis, Chris Zorich, Ricky Waters. Like I said, Rocket Ismail is probably my favorite college football player. In fact, he is. Rocket Ismail was my favorite college football player. And if Lou Holtz would have been at Notre Dame when I was getting recruited instead of Bob Davie, I'll tell you guys a funny story. So I was being recruited by Notre Dame. I actually took an official visit to Notre Dame coming out of when I was in high school. And so Bob Davie, like this is kind of towards close to signing day when I ended up committing to the University of Georgia. So Bob Davie, he called me and he was just like, yeah, you coming to Notre Dame? You coming to Notre Dame? You coming? You coming? And I told him, no, I'm going to the University of Georgia. And he was like, well, what about your education? You know, because I mean, if you have a Notre Dame degree, like that's a prestigious degree. Having a Notre Dame, a degree from Notre Dame, you know, that's a very prestigious university. But I was just like, nah, I'm going to you. I'm wearing a G. And he was like, okay. He was like, all right. But yeah, but I was recruited by Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's a good school. Like I said, that's my second favorite university, second to my alma mater, which is the University of Georgia. So go Dogs. We're going to smash Notre Dame. It's going to be a good game. And I love this new playoff format. But this whole tether, and guys, I want to pull this up. I think I pulled this up before. Hopefully they don't block it. But I don't hear I don't hear so-called. I mean, it's like it's paranoia or delusion, like being delusion. Like people with so-called tethers in quotation marks come here. They're coming here in search of opportunity. They not worried about Black Americans or ADOS, FBA, and their fight for reparations. I mean, some might, you know, as far as helping, but this idea that it's the Tether's fault why Black people in America can't get reparations, it's ridiculous. It's laughable. And what it does, it removes. You don't have to hold yourself accountable because you just want to blame the tethers. But I played this clip on here before. We're going to play it again. And like I said, the majority of the issues within the Black community is internal, not tethers. It's internal, FBA, ADOS, with the blockage. But let me play this video real quick.
Forward. That led to a big protest at the Capitol over the weekend, as you see here. That's what the video is that you're watching right now. KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala spoke with the reparations leader.
Yeah, so Ashley, what does she have to say about how this whole session ended over the weekend?
Golston and Lisa, Camila Moore was the chairwoman of California's Historic Reparations Task Force. That group wrapped up its work last year after spending years.
All right, who's Camila Moore? Camila Moore. Okay, here we go. Camila Moore. I misspelled it. Here we go. And where is she from? Here we go. Well, let's
years studying the effects of slavery, racial discrimination, and its impact on Black Californians. She says she felt betrayed by the Black Caucus after it decided to block 2 bills she says are fundamental for reparations. Emotions still high after this scene at the state capitol over the weekend.
It's Black people stopping their own people from getting their reparations.
Reparations supporters frustrated by the Legislative Black Caucus's last-minute decision to block votes in the Assembly on proposals that would establish a state agency and state fund for reparations. The Black Caucus divided, with some saying they were afraid of the governor's veto, while the caucus leader, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, claimed the bills did not have the votes.
I think what happened on Saturday was unconscionable.
Camila Moore led California's reparations task force that helped come up with these recommendations. She did not expect this.
What we saw was a complete betrayal by the California Legislative Black Caucus against their own constituents. They chose to prioritize their ego and their own self-interest over the people that they claim to serve.
It seemed like Democratic legislative leaders were hands-off about this. Do you think they should have stepped in?
I do think that the Assembly leadership, namely the Assembly Speaker, Robert Rivas, should have, intervened. In effect, he sided with the Black Caucus.
How do you, the advocates, the supporters, how do you all move forward here? What are the next steps?
The next step for us is to keep pushing to hold the California Legislative Black Caucus accountable.
Yes, on 6! Yes, on 6!
We tried to get a response from caucus leader, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, at a different reparations-related rally.
Let's find out who Lori Wilson is and her background to see if she's a Tether. Lori Wilson, California State Representative. All right, guys. So Lori Wilson, pull up her Wikipedia page. Hold on. Let me do this. See where she's from. Oh, there we go. Lori Wilson. Lori Denise Wilson is an American politician elected to the California State Assembly. She's a Democrat elected to represent the 11th district, encompassing Solana County and parts of Contra Costa County, including the city of Oakley and Sacramento County. Prior to being elected to the State Assembly, she was mayor of Suisun City. In 2023, Wilson authored AB 957, which would require a parent's affirmation of the child's gender identity or gender expression and determining the best interest of a child during custody or visitation proceedings. Hold on, which will require a parent's affirmation of the child's gender identity or gender expression. What? Okay. This bill was ultimately vetoed by Governor Newsom. All right, so she's from Fresno. So born and raised in California. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out her early life, but she's born in Fresno. So I guess the argument would be, well, man, maybe her parents are Tethers. Let's see where her parents are from. Lori Wilson parents. Let's see here. So I have a picture of her and her dad. Okay, her mother is Patricia Wilson. All right, let's see where Patricia Wilson is from. Okay, that's the wrong Patricia Wilson. Okay, he's a Newt. All right, he's a Kappa. All right, so her father's a Kappa. Hold on, Lori Wilson father. Can't really find any information on the family, but she's from Fresno. All right, so she's definitely she's ADOS. Shout out to Muhammad in the chat room. Yeah, so her father's a Newt. Okay, she went to she graduated from Sac State, Sacramento. So she went to Sac State. Oh, so she's married. So I don't know her maiden name. But anyway, she's not a Tether. All right. All right, Laura Denise Johnson. Laura Denise Johnson. All right, so but let's see. What is this? A private? No, it's not a private chat. You want to call in, guys? Links in the chat room. If you want to call in, go in and call in. Somebody said, "How can you be betrayed about something that's not going to happen?" You never know. You never know. You never know. Shout out to Say Carrie. Shout out to everybody. I miss y'all because I know it's been a minute. It's definitely it's been a minute, y'all. Let's get back to the Go ahead, Tunde.
You hear me?
Loud and clear.
All right. Okay. FBA, right?
Right.
What is the difference between FBA and ADOS?
They're the same. It's just that the I would say I don't know if the correct term is leaders are different. That's it, but it's the same.
From
same
what I
concept.
heard, and I don't know how true this is. From what I heard Tyreek used to be with ADOS.
He was.
And then some things happened. I don't know. Some are saying that he got kicked out or some shit like that.
Yeah, there was a disagreement between him and Yvette Carnell, and then he founded
FBA.
Yeah.
From what I know, the whole purpose of FBA from the beginning, the early conversations about it was for reparations. Right?
Well, yes and no. So the whole purpose of FBA, the original concept was to have, for Black Americans to have their own designation, so they're not, I would say, looped or put in the same group as immigrants, Black immigrants.
Well, what would be the purpose of that?
Right, like you said, for reparations and other
exactly for reparations, pretty much.
Right.
Their fear was because we all look alike, there will be some crooked Africans or crooked Jamaicans or crooked Haitians that will try to put their hands in the pot of reparations. So in the attempt to do that, they started to separate. Like, hold up, we're FBAs. They're not. They're Jamaicans. They're Haitians. they're Dominicans, they're Africans, separate us, which I understand, right? But I'm on Twitter a lot, right? And it gets very disrespectful on Twitter, where they go to the extremes on trying to go as far as to put up images of Africans in the bush eating all types of crazy shit, and they'll say like, "Oh, those are Africans. See how they act. We are FBA. See how we act." And it gets to the extreme like that.
Well, the thing is, Tunde, like even in the South, here in Black America, eat raccoon, possum, so we eat our own bush meat too.
Right, but they wouldn't show that on their end. They wouldn't show that. They'll just down just to try to put a distinct separation between the two. And I just felt like, yo, it's gotten too extreme now. That is right now, it's not even about reparations. It's about some other shit now. You know? So I mean, that's my take on it, man.
Okay. Let me finish this video. Guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in and add to the conversation, you're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation.
Headline at the state capitol Tuesday, but she canceled her appearance. I tried asking supporters about the situation. Do you have any thoughts that you want to share right now? They dodged the question.
Now, Assemblymember Wilson's spokesperson told us in part she canceled her appearance there because she did not want to detract from the importance of that rally. As we worked on this story, we also tried to interview California Secretary of State Shirley Weber, who wrote the law that launched the reparations task force years ago. She declined our request. We should note her daughter is Assemblymember Akilah Weber. She's another Black Caucus member who is under scrutiny for Saturday's actions.
All right, so let's look up.
All right, we'll keep following this along with you. Actually,
let me just say one more thing, Dynas.
Go ahead.
Before this whole FBA thing came about, Tariq was riding with Africa hard.
Right.
Hard, bro, heavy. And the minute it was talks about reparation, then it was like, F Africa, I'm not really. It's like, it started getting weird, bro. It started getting really weird with him. And in order for him to save face, you know, he got to stand down on what he believes in now. But you know, it's just weird. I just don't believe it.
All right, so guys, this is Shirley Weber, born in Hope, Arkansas. So she's definitely ADOS, FBA, and then her daughter Akilah, who's on the I guess the council or whatever. Here she is, born in San Diego, California. So, you know, these are definitely FBA, ADOS, not the Tethers. So that kind of proves it right there. Guys, links in the chat room. If you want to call in after the conversation, you can. Tunde, have you been keeping up with the Fat Joe situation?
Yes, I have.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think, okay, this is my thing because I've watched the what's that Tariq's doc
the hip hop one. I haven't seen it yet.
Microphone Check.
Okay, was it good?
It was good. The production was good. I'm not gonna lie. He had a lot of interesting takes on it, but there's certain things that are just not right in my opinion. Certain things, but you know, but I've seen it, right?
Like what? Like what? When you say not right, like what?
I just do feel like, okay, let's say for instance, right? Black people did create hip hop. I'm not gonna even deny that, but the way he's making it seem is like Puerto Ricans didn't come to like, or Jamaicans didn't come to like 10 years after. And I don't believe that. If I was born in the Bronx in 1960, if I was 10 years old in the Bronx, right? And in 1965, and I have friends who are Jamaicans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, and all, and, you know, different groups of people, and I get to the point, and I get to, let's say, the age of 15 in 1970, and then hip hop is starting to be born. You mean to tell me those other races will turn their back and be like, oh, okay, that's what y'all do. We doing this over here. No, we in the same boat. It's a New York thing. I don't agree with what he said. I don't like what he said. Well, foundational black. I didn't agree with that, and I think that those people in that room shouldn't have laughed and agree with that. But I do feel like if you're not from New York, you wouldn't really understand.
But he interviewed a number of artists from New York, right?
Who?
Tariq in the documentary.
Yeah.
What did they say?
They was like, because they was trying to I guess some people were trying to say that Jamaican toasting was a part of it. I don't know what Jamaican toasting is, I'm be honest. But they was like, yo, Jamaican toasting was a part of the inception of hip hop, and those pioneers was like, we never heard of that. That's not true. And this, that, and the third. We never no Jamaican was in this and all this crap. They had their views on it.
All right, okay, go ahead.
No, that's it.
Okay, D Grayson, go ahead.
Hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right, I just want to say that I listened to your platform. I enjoyed it and everything. But I
Appreciate
identified as FBA, and you made some mistakes, and I just want to clear it up.
Okay, go ahead.
FBA denotes our lineage, not an organization.
Okay, correct. So then, right, I think Tunde's question was, what's the difference between ADOS and FBA?
ADOS is an organization.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
All right. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, that's it. You sure?
Yeah, that's it,
but
man.
Would you agree that if the talks wasn't, if the talks for reparation wasn't afloat, that there wouldn't be no FBA?
Yes, there was, sir.
That wasn't pumping that years ago, though. That's my point.
Yeah, in a different way, right? But it's not just reparation based. You know what I mean? It's about Black American empowerment.
When the term FBA came out, the topic at that point was heavy on reparations. It was heavy.
Yeah, but there's different terms for different things. Mexicans call water agua.
Okay.
When you first become the term of that, you're like, oh, okay, they mean water. So FBA means our lineage, Black Americans. It's called many things. Some people still call it African American, which is a misnomer.
Why do you say that's a misnomer?
Because African is a country, Africa, right? Continent. Yeah, it's 54 countries, and they don't identify as it.
They identify as African.
No, I met some Nigerian brothers, and they didn't call themselves African.
When they outside of the country, they call themselves African, bro.
Outside, yeah.
And also, of course, because you're not gonna understand. You're not gonna understand if I tell you, if I'm outside the country and I tell you I'm Yoruba, you're not gonna understand that.
What do you mean I want to understand that?
If I meet you outside, if I'm in America right now and you ask me where I'm from, I'm telling you I'm Yoruba. Are you gonna understand it?
Well, I would understand it, but
you gotta say I'm African.
No, sir. You don't gotta talk down to me. But check this out. I was going to school in LA, and my landlord, she was from Oaxaca, right? She didn't use no different term talking down to me about that.
What she say?
She was saying she was from Oaxaca.
That's Mexico.
In Mexico.
Mexico,
Oaxaca, right? I mean, you don't change your terms dealing on different people from different lineages. I mean, you are what you are, and you can't be ashamed of that. You should just state that, and it's on me if I want to understand more to do the research. To find out, that might spark me to do more research. Oh, you know what, my brother from Yoruba. Let me check that out, because next time I talk to him,
I understand.
I want to be a little bit more knowledgeable.
I understand that, but to cut the small talk, we always gonna say we African, and then you'll ask what part. Right or wrong?
Brother, I believe African is a psyop, honestly, because that's not what they called themselves, wasn't it? I would defer to you, but a Kubalari or something like that?
Well, I would challenge that. I haven't seen any proof that Africa was once called Akulaban, or I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's and plus,
I haven't seen any proof.
Again, you are I defer to you with the African history, but it was my understanding that Serb called Africanus, right? Conquered the north part of Africa and just called the whole damn thing Africa.
No, you know what? I was researching that, and that's not necessarily true. But I need to get back to you on that as far as the sources that Africa was named after Scorpio Africanus.
But it was still named after somebody else. I don't understand why you go by a term. Here's the one thing about Tariq. At least it's invented by Black Americans. It's a term invented. Why not go by it?
Tunde, you want to answer that?
I was asking Tunde.
Oh, yeah, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at him, but it's gotten to the point where it's starting to get disrespectful because, like, I'm on Twitter a lot, bro, and they go hard on Twitter. They go hard dissing Africans sometimes dissing them, and it's like it goes back and forth. It's like, yo, this wasn't the purpose of this organization or this thing that you try to you're trying to create. This wasn't the purpose. Tariq at one point was heavy on Africa. He was heavy.
Yeah, so was I. But did you learn? You know what I mean? You actually, honestly, bro, you actually need the African and all that shit go away. You're like, it's not reciprocal. As soon as you find out it ain't reciprocal, you can't continue moving.
Wait, okay. What do you
mean it's not reciprocal?
Hold on, Tunde. When you say reciprocal, like what? How does that look like? What do you mean? Like,
I mean, I always felt like Black Americans had a higher level of respect for Africans than Africans have for our culture.
Can you expand? Like, give me an example.
It's common for them to say we don't have a culture, and they treat us like generic Africans. Like, you are a weaker version of me.
Can I add something?
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
You know, I've heard that. I've heard that Africans will say like Black Americans don't have culture or Black Americans don't know where they're from, right? And I'm gonna put myself in an example, right? I'm from West Africa, right? I'm from Nigeria,
yes, sir.
From the Yoruba tribe, right? I have both my parents are from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
My parents have siblings on the continent that live on the continent, never step foot outside of the continent, right? They don't look at me like I'm African. I've been born and raised in New York City all my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look at me like, I'm like, yo, I'm your flesh and blood. Like, how can you not look at me like I'm not African?
Well, culturally, you may not be.
That's how they look at it. That's how they look at you. It's not because they looking at you like you're less than, or you know what I mean. That's how they look at it.
We're not the same culture. We're our own culture.
What is the African culture? What is the African culture? Let's be honest.
Specifically, I couldn't tell you as much.
There is no African culture. That's the point.
No. I know there is, man. I was watching the show and
oh my god.
Nah, it's not firsthand knowledge.
You gotta go with the bullshit. You gotta go with the bullshit.
Tell him what it is. He disrespected. Tell him the culture, man. Tell him. Come on, man.
There is no African culture.
Tell him, man. Tell him. It's scary.
There's no African culture.
There's no African culture.
No, listen.
There's African culture with an S. There's African culture with an S, but there's not one specific African.
Oh, okay. I hear you. You're dealing with it. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You feel me?
You're right, sir. You're right. You're right.
With an S, there is.
Yeah,
but not, you know.
With an S.
Go ahead, Kofi.
Peace, y'all. I'm back from Ghana. Got my citizenship.
Peace, Kofi. Peace.
I didn't get my passport yet. I got my Ghana card.
Kofi, you got a lot of background.
I have to get my passport when I go back.
Okay, but you're a citizen,
sorry.
So you
that was my headphones.
Yeah, Kofi. About
yeah. So like I was. Even when I was in Ghana, I was heavy on the FBA movement. I like to consider myself FBA. My father was born in the Bahamas, but his mother was born in Miami. My family's from South Carolina, and my child was born on the African continent. I started to notice that the FBA, their like intellect and their arguments started to like fade into this kind of troll thing, and then they start to say, well, you're half FBA. We don't trust people that have one parent that's born outside, or we don't trust African Americans who consider themselves to be Pan-African. And when you start to talk about Black American accomplishments on the African continent, they start to contradict themselves and pull away. And it's such a contradiction because isn't it a accomplishment? Didn't Tuskegee Airmen build the Ethiopian Airlines during the Ethiopian-Italiano Wars? And then they start to deny, and then they start to pull away from the accomplishments. And that's when you could tell it's all bullshit. So like for anyone to kind of go the lineage route with the FBA name, it's still a stain on it because there's a bunch of trolls, and pretty much even though Tariq Nasheed liked to consider himself not the leader, he really can't control what happens on the outside. So you could have people who are against the entire movement act as FBA folks and start to troll and take it a whole nother place. And that's why it doesn't work. That's why it just doesn't work. And
Hey,
I think
Kofi, it's my understanding. Excuse me, sir. I didn't want to interrupt you, but it's my understanding. Yeah, if one parent is FBA, that makes you FBA. That's what I always understood.
But they always do this thing where, okay, if you disagree with them or if you're on a contrary of on something, then they like to point out okay, that's your immigrant side speaking.
Yeah,
or that's
check this out. I'm gonna kind of interpret that. It's what you're disagreeing about. You can't say like you guys have a math disagreement about some algebra and you're a tether. You know what I mean? No. If you start disagreeing about stuff that's foundational to us, who we are, our identity as a person, that's usually people who are not from our lineage. If you say stuff like, Jamaicans build hip hop, they brought over the music sound systems. We're like, we kind of take credit for that, bruh.
Well, D. Grayson, let me ask you this: what about Black Americans who disagree with
FBA?
Yeah,
I think they don't understand it. Again, I can't disagree with agua. That's what you call water.
Let me pass to the Premium Black, Nakmeezy. Go ahead, Nakmeezy. Premium Black. Go ahead.
How you doing, brother? It's a great day to be the best blacks to ever walk the planet. Salute to the panel. Salute to FBA, the premium blacks of the world.
Yes, sir. Go ahead. Welcome.
No, I mean I just clicked on, so I don't really know where you guys are at in the conversation, but I think we're talking about tethers.
That's part. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, look, I think the tether term gets thrown around very loosely. I mean, a tether for me has a negative inference, right? But to me, a tether is someone that cosplays as a Black American to get into certain places and then vote or work in a way that is not beneficial to Black Americans. So if you're not doing that and you just happen to be a Black person from another country and you have no smoke for my lineage, then I have no smoke for you. So
Let me read this super chat. Lee Clinton, thank you for the $10 holla. FBA cult is the problem. Before 2019, there was no such thing as a tether. This is a sign of our Black African regression. What are your thoughts on that, Premium Black?
I mean, no, you've always had Black Americans that were proud to be Black American. While they weren't called FBA or ADOS, we've always been proud to be Black American. In New York, it was Yankees versus Yardies, right? And a lot of the smoke was coming from people that were not born in America, were coming and living amongst Black Americans. And there was that like a culture clash, so to speak. There's also a culture clash between Black Americans whose ancestors moved up north and then go back down south. They said that we lost all of our Southern charm. So regionality, culture are all going to have a play in humans separating themselves, and this is nothing new. The continent of Africa has more toxic tribalism than any place in the West. So for these Africans crying and say, "Oh, they're divisive," please. Look at Nigeria. That's all I got to say.
Sandman, go ahead, Mr. Sandman.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, man, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Yeah, I disagree with this whole tether nonsense, mainly because hip hop, it started in New York City, and we all know that New York City is the hub of immigration when it comes to this country. All like the white people you see in here, they came from Ellis Island, whether it be the Italians, the Jamaicans, the Puerto Ricans, that came through New York. And if you was to go to New York today, that place is full of Caribbeans or second second generation Caribbeans, third generation Caribbeans that came over here way back in the day. And I do give respect to the Caribbeans and their contributions to hip hop. For instance, Biggie Smalls, his family comes from Jamaica, and we have a tendency to forget that prior to being more not necessarily introduced, but prior to the popularity of a lot of Caribbean music that came from like Jamaica and things like that, the music that we made was kind of whitewashed to appeal to the white audience as opposed to something strictly for ourselves. So I think like a lot of Jamaican artists like a Bob Marley gave us the gall and the strength to step up and say, hey, this is hip hop. This represents us. You know, so yeah, they played a contribution in it. You know, and building hip hop from the rhythm to it. You know, what I'm saying how many uh old school hip hop artists take, what I mean, the rhythm of reggae music and stuff like that, and add that to their music. And even African culture is a part of Puerto Rican culture. We'll be talking about Fat Joe, for instance, being that he's from Puerto Rico. African culture has a heavy influence in Puerto Rico, just as much as it does in any other place, in the Americas, from the Caribbean, I mean, from Jamaica and so on and so forth, even more so than us, even though they might even be lighter skinned, they might retain more African culture than we do sometimes, you know what I mean? That you say like some of their merengue, all that stuff, and Santa Teria, that's all like stuff that was brought to them by Africans that were enslaved in Puerto Rico as well. So yeah, they definitely play a part in the development of hip hop, and as a matter of fact, when you're talking about African, and the one guy here mentioned something to the effect that you try to like be cool with some Africans, they're going to be tough with you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's everywhere you go. Every country, every continent got their thugs, got their tough guys. And I was introduced to some Africans when I was in the military. And they would tell me like, certain parts of the country, like you might go to Nigeria, those guys, they might be a little rough, a little tougher, but if you was to go to Namibia or something like that, those people are a little bit more calm and a little bit more relaxed, or even Jamaicans, they tend to be a little bit more aggressive than some people might like, So I think it's just, you just got to find your tribe or your group that vibe the way you vibe, you know what I'm saying? That might not be as rambunctious and think the way you do.
Man, I disagree. I disagree with that. Can I real quick? Can I real quick?
Pass not Measy. Now pass. Go ahead, not Measy. I know you want to chime
Yeah,
in.
I'm from New York. This is the tip. What happens when you learn your history from Sonnet or TV? It's all wrong. Hip hop was 100% Black American,
Yes, sir.
and the New York that you see today is not the New York that I was born in. Okay, the majority of blacks in New York in the 70s and even the 80s were Black Americans.
Not
Once
in the
the mid
Bronx. Let's not do
90s,
that. Not in the Bronx. Let's not do that.
all right,
Let's
I don't
not
know
do
who
that.
this wild savage Negro is speaking while I'm speaking, but yeah, I'd
Hey, God,
appreciate if you
let's
just
not
let me
let's not
finish.
interrupt. Let not
My
Measy
bad. My
finish.
bad.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
let go ahead.
All I'm
thank you,
saying is
thank you. And
don't cherry pick.
No,
Just
let
be
him
honest.
no,
finish.
I'm not cherry picking, and
Let
we
him
can
finish.
take
Let
it
him
to the
finish. Let him
Bronx.
please.
Yeah, I mean that's my brother. Regardless, I'm not cherry picking. We can take it to the Bronx if you want, because I went to high school at Fordham Road after I got kicked out of Taft. Okay, so I lived in the Bronx as well. So in that time frame, okay, it was majority Black Americans. The Black American exodus out of New York started with MTA, Con Edison, and 9X retirees moving back to the South. Moving where? to Atlanta, and there was a little cultural back and forth between the New Yorkers coming to Atlanta and going to North Carolina, and then there was a mass exodus mid 90s to the early 2000s. So what you see now in New York are these so-called tethers, second and third generation Caribbeans who act or grew up in the already established Black American hip hop culture, but then went home and got their Caribbean G check by their parents. So in the time that hip hop was created, it was FBA. We have to talk about DJ Disco Mario and things of that. But if you're not from New York, you wouldn't know. I would acquiesce to my brother from the Bronx and try to see what is he talking about before. But before I do that, if you're talking about Gun Hill, right? If you're talking about the houses versus the projects is where a lot of FBA lived, and when the immigrants started coming in, they started living, they started buying houses. And there was that issue with that. So I don't know where he's trying to say if there weren't Black Americans in the Bronx.
Oh no, I never said there weren't Black Americans in the Bronx.
Tune Let me pass it to D. Grayson, and I'll pass it to you because D. Grayson was next. Go ahead, D. Grayson. I'll pass it to you today. You can respond.
All right, thanks, man. I disagree with Mister, and I'm disagreeing with your argument, not your person. But I don't see anything you said as correct. You know what I mean? I'm on the West Coast. Yeah, we did not take any type of star from Africans. We did not whitewash anything we was doing. You know, if anything, they was following us. You know what I mean? Brothers like Elvis was going in the clubs and stuff, seeing what we was doing, putting white face on that. So if anything, we are the originators. We don't copy nobody. We're leaders.
Then how come all of us had like straight hair cocked to the side like we was white?
Well, let me pass it to
straight hair.
Respond, I can pass it. Yeah, I don't know.
Hair?
Go ahead, Tunde.
Oh, I wasn't trying to say that the Bronx was just Puerto Ricans. It was a mixture. It wasn't just Black people in the Bronx. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I didn't say that. I was speaking specifically to Black Americans or the Black people in New York at that time of the creation of hip hop and before were primarily Black Americans. I remember prior to high school, I would say middle school, when Jamaicans still looked like stereotypical Jamaicans. Dominicans at that time had jerry curls and white shoes, and there were issues between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans because the Puerto Ricans were the established Latinos and the Dominicans were the new Latinos. So Black Americans were the established Blacks and the Caribbeans were the newer Blacks. So when you look at the history of New York City, there was a time in the early 80s where we got a huge influx of people from the Caribbean. And in the Bronx, if you're from the Bronx, and you know Gun Hill Road is straight Jamaican, right? The east side of the Bronx, you at a certain point you'd have more Black Americans. But if you go to Tracy Towers in the northwest Bronx, it's all Ghanaian. You see what I'm saying? So it's changed, but at the creation of hip hop, it was Black Americans.
Premium. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Is this Tunde? Are you a Nigerian?
Yes, sir.
I'd like my reparations, but go on, brother.
Why? Why would you like reparations?
Because y'all sold us, but go on, brother. We cool.
Okay. I ain't got no money, brother. Let me ask you a question. Have you seen the microphone check doc?
Nope. No, I haven't, and I probably won't see it.
Okay. From what I gathered from that doc was that he was trying to imply that hip hop emerged from the South first, and then when it got to New York, that's when it bloomed. And I disagree with that. There's three elements to me. There's three factors in New York City that the South don't have. We have the cultural diversity in the city. We have the population. Plus, we have that New York City transit system. If New York City didn't have that, there's no way in hell hip hop would have been born. Would you agree with that?
To a certain extent, and this is where I'll agree. I'll start with the positive. New York was like the concrete jungle, so to speak, and that concrete jungle, that duress, was the fire and fuel to create hip hop, 100%.
Absolutely.
Now, who was right? So in the South, there wasn't that sort of, it wasn't that vibe. You had yards, you had a front yard, a backyard, you had
Exactly.
space between your neighbors. So they didn't have the same system that would create a music that thrives, not that thrives, but that whose birth came from poverty in the inner city. So I will say that. But the blacks from the South, or descendants of the blacks from the South, are the ones that did it. Puerto Ricans had a separate culture in New York that was based on salsa merengue. And then in the early 80s, the Puerto Ricans will listen to what? Freestyle. And here's a gem for y'all. Freestyle music, like Little Debbie, um, that dude who sang Silent Morning, all this stuff, right? The first freestyle record was started by Shannon, Let the Music Play, who was a black American from DC. So when they tried to say that they had a creation, no, they didn't. They didn't. Matter of fact, the biggest Latino influence, especially early in hip hop, was not even Puerto Ricans. Is Mellow Man Ace with Mentirosa. Those were the biggest selling hip hop records. And I lived in Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, they were listening to Jam on It at that time, Jam on It, and all that hip hop from New York at that time, breakdancing, but it was based off of New Yorkers going back and forth. They didn't create anything to hip hop.
All right, let me pass it to Lee Clinton. Lee Clinton, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Good afternoon, panel. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me clear?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So just a little background on myself. My mother is from the Virgin Islands, St. Croix, and my father is Black American. He was born in Harlem. His mother was born in Harlem. I was born in the Bronx, New York, born and raised. Now, what people fail to realize is that hip hop started in the 70s. Before it became famous in the 80s and the 90s, it started in the 70s. By that time, you already had a bunch of Puerto Ricans living in the Bronx and a bunch of Caribbean. Caribbean people been living in the Bronx since the early 1900s. That's number one. Number two, the reason why hip hop started was because of gang warfare in the Bronx. Gangs. There's a documentary that I would implore everyone to watch. It's called 80 Blocks from Tiffany. 80 Blocks from Tiffany. Hip hop started because of gang warfare. Back then, the gangs wore patches. They didn't wear do-rag colors. They wore patches. What the gang started doing with the soul music from the 70s and the 60s, they started using the breakbeat part, and they would have like their boombox and stuff like that. And then they started to keep peace. They started battling each other. That's where break dances came in. Hip hop is not just rap. It's also breakdancing. It's also graffiti and other elements. The people that were living in the Bronx at that time were Black American, or what some people claim FBA, Caribbean people, and Hispanic people, specifically Puerto Ricans. All of these people put their hand in creating hip hop. It was not solely a Black American invention. That is false. Cool DJ Herc is Jamaican descent. He has been known before there was an FBA, before there was a Tether. Cool DJ Herc was known as the godfather of hip hop. The godfather of hip hop. He is of Jamaican descent. What I'm trying to say is we are regressing because this thing, I don't know about anywhere else but New York and the Bronx. This thing wasn't a problem. Yeah, you always had little schisms. Maybe a Puerto Rican was prejudiced, or a black person was prejudiced, or a Black American would say coconut, or a West Indian will call a Black American Yankee, whatever. But by and large, those things did not exist. These things did not exist. So the fact that it's 2024 and we're having these type of discussion shows, as a people, generally, we have regressed. Hip hop was not solely Black American. Black American had a heavy hand in it. Of course, no one's denying that. But so did Caribbean, specifically Jamaican, and so did Latinos, specifically Puerto Ricans. They all helped create it. Because when you think about breakdancing, the Puerto Ricans had that on lock. They had that on lock. When you think about graffiti, it was Black and Puerto Ricans. And then when it came to rap, the Black Americans and the Caribbeans had that on lock. So now it's 2024, and we're having this argument about who created hip hop. Oh, is this person, that person? See, what happens is we come on these panels, we come out in the world, and we project our trauma, we project our prejudice, we project our own self-hate. When Garvey came here, it wasn't about that. You look at all the greats, Garvey, Malcolm. Malcolm has Caribbean descent. He also has Black American descent. But he said, I'm an African. So we lost our way. We're letting grifters, right? What Fat Joe said about Tariq Rashid, he's right. He's a grifter. This is your leader? A grifter, an oil snakesman? This is the same one that made 1804 about Haiti conquering the French. And then a couple years later, he's running a grift because he couldn't steal ADOS from Yvette Carnell. We got to stop this, man. This is nonsense. Okay, if you're going to say something, let's tell the truth. Hip hop was a Pan African creation because, again, Puerto Rican culture is heavily, whether they want to admit it or not, a lot of them do, but some of them, they go through the same self hate that we go through. Their culture is heavily heavily African culture. The Congas, the deities that they pray to, they pray to Changa and all these things. I'm not talking about a black Puerto Rican either. I'm talking about a Puerto Rican that looks like Fat Joe. They pray to African deities. But unless you're from the Bronx, unless you're from New York, unless you live around and grew up around this, you would not know that. You understand? So we just got to tell the truth and put our prejudice aside. There's nothing wrong with saying the truth, which is Puerto Ricans did have a hand in creating it. That yes, West Indian Caribbean people did have a hand in creating it. Because again, before 2019, when FBA was created, we all knew DJ Kool Herc was Jamaican descent, and he was known as the godfather of hip hop, and it wasn't a problem until now.
All right, let me pass it.
I like to rebut this. Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Hold on, Cole.
You know how I hold it down for my people. First of all, this is all cap. When you look at the breaks that Kool Herc, who was like 8 years old when he came to America, he came to America trying to play Jamaican music. No one was rocking with it. So then what did he do? Play disco and soul. So he jumped into a culture that was already here. Everyone talks about Kool Herc, but they don't talk about Disco Mario, right? They don't talk about that. So when you talk about the creation, we have to separate creation and people who had an influence or they added to it. Absolutely, people from the Caribbean and Puerto Ricans added to hip hop, but they didn't create it. If I'm already cooking a stew and you say, yo, why don't you try this spice? You try that spice. I'm still the chef. Black Americans is still the chef. All the breaks that they were doing were Black American songs. Who's the most sampled? James Brown. Where does he come from? Down south. So when they try to spin this narrative that hip hop was somehow Pan African, which it wasn't. Okay, hip hop was born out of the ghetto, which had nothing to do with Pan Africanism. Okay, Pan Africanism didn't come into hip hop until the early '90s with this whole with groups like X Clan and Jungle Brothers and things like that. They started talking about the red, black, and green. Prior to that, it was what's going on in the hood. So when we talk about the gangs, I'd like to know what gangs are you talking about? Are you talking about the Black Spades, Black American groups? For you to find, I mean, gangs, for you to find Black Americans in New York, you got to go to the projects. That's where they were at in the projects. That's why I spoke about the Bronx and the difference between you go talk about the Bronx or Canarsie, Brooklyn. The new Black immigrants had houses. They bought the houses, and there were Black Americans still living in the PJs. And guess where the hip hop went down in the PJs. So it wasn't that they bought any element of hip hop to America from Jamaica. That's cap. The only thing that they brought was their Jamaican style, and the first Jamaican rapper was Shinehead, who came out rapping like a Jamaican with who the cap fits. Okay, so when we talk this stuff, and then we try to weave Pan Africanism, I would say, look, first of all, how old are you, and what part of the Bronx you from? Because what you're talking about makes zero sense. Puerto Ricans had their own style. They didn't rock with Morenos, and I lived in Puerto Rico, and I lived in the black part of Puerto Rico, and I'm going to tell you another thing that you said was wrong, which is that white Puerto Ricans practice Black African spirituality. For the most part, they don't. They're Roman Catholic. And where did I grow up? In one of the blackest part, not grow up, where did I live? One of the blackest part of Puerto Rico called Loíza Aldea, the same place that Tego Calderon is from. So when you come up here and you try to say, oh, you got to have receipts, I want to hear your receipts. Tell me the Black Puerto Rican gang that was rapping, because the Puerto Ricans that were in gangs back then, you know what they were called? Germans. That's what we called them. We called them Puerto Rocks, Germans, and white boys. They had nothing to do with hip hop. That's a whole fact. They were closer in alliance to rock and roll than they were hip hop. Now I want to hear him rebut me on that.
All
Can I
right,
can I answer?
Yeah, go ahead, Lee Clinton. I'm pass it to Only. Go
I'll
ahead.
try.
Pass it to
Yeah, I'll
you.
try to be real quick. Again, real quick. Look at a documentary called 80 Blocks from Tiffany. All right. It's a documentary. It shows you when hip hop was being formulated through because of the gangs. Now there was a gang called the Savage Nomads, and you had the Savage Skulls. These gangs were not just all black, like the Black Spades. They were a mixed gang of black and Puerto Rican people. That's number one. Number two, I'm in my 40s. I'm in my mid 40s. All right. I was born in North Central Hospital. I grew up in East Tremont and Southern Boulevard. If you're from the Bronx, you know where that's at. All right. As a matter of fact, Lee Clinton, I'm from Clinton Avenue. That's why I have the moniker Lee Clinton. Now, when I said that there are Puerto Ricans that look white that celebrate African deities, that is a fact. I didn't say everyone down to the absolute person, every single one, but there are ones that do. How do I know? Because I'm telling you my experiences. Okay. Now, when you talk about Pan Africanism, I'm not talking about the red, black, and green. No, what I'm talking about when I say Pan Africanism, I'm talking about the energy. This is why I said Puerto Ricans have, and a brother brought it up earlier. A lot of Puerto Ricans have their culture. When you look at the Puerto Rican culture, it is heavily Africanized. The congas, that's not from Spain. A lot of the culture and the food that they is not from Spain. They get that from Africa. And it is that energy that contributed to the making of hip hop. All right. It wasn't already established because it was being formulated in the 70s. Once the decade of the 70s was finished and we got to the 80s, that's when hip hop was a complete thing, a complete package. When you start seeing music videos, Run DMC, etc., etc. So to say that these groups didn't have a hand in it is to rewrite history. How, and my question to you, my brother, is, or to anyone who disagrees, how is it that a Jamaican man has been known way before 2019, way before there was even a Cosmoflex machine, way before was known as the godfather of hip hop? Explain to me how a Jamaican man is known as the godfather of hip hop.
Jump in?
Wait, hold
Hold on.
on. Before we do that, sis, because we're in the middle of this. I asked him for certain things that he failed on. Okay. Then it becomes, oh, I didn't say all Puerto Ricans. You said Puerto Ricans
That should go
in
without saying,
general.
my brother. If I say
Wait,
that, if
but
I
wait,
say
but
to you,
hold on,
no,
brother.
no, no,
Let
no,
me
no.
finish
If
because
I say to you,
I didn't cut you. I didn't cut you.
But okay,
Wait,
not
but
me.
hold on. Let me do it. Let me.
Not me.
Please,
Not me.
you know
Not
I'm
me.
quick, bro. I'm quick.
because we have to advance the conversation. I shouldn't have to.
Well, Mike, both of you guys got not me. You got 1 minute, and I got to pass it to Only.
All right, I don't even need a minute.
Okay.
When you start doing generalizations, right, and then backtrack when I told you that
It
blacks
was no
practice.
generalization. I'm giving you my
No,
anecdotal
and now you're still
experience
speaking. See, but your anecdotal experience doesn't hold
because you're
water to mine
lying.
because
You're lying, and I don't
no.
want you to lie on
Okay,
me. If you're gonna say something,
okay.
say the truth. Don't lie on me.
See, but now he's talking over me. See, your anecdotal doesn't add up to mine because I lived in Puerto Rico, lived in the blackest part of Puerto Rico, and speak Spanish and lived in the Bronx. So I can speak on it because I understand the dynamic between blacks and Puerto Ricans and what the things that they practice. So in Loíza Aldea, they practice Yoruba culture, specifically from Nigeria. Once you leave Loíza and you go to the next town, it goes right back to Roman Catholic. So Puerto Ricans, they are blacks of convenience. We used to call them chameleons because when they get around blacks, it's like, yo, B. And when you walk away, it's them damn morenos, them cocolos and them trepapalos and them moyos. Do you know what that means? Of course you don't, because you don't speak the language. So stop trying to push this. Um, they had something to do with it. They wasn't even rocking with hip hop. And you can listen to the Puerto Ricans, they'll tell you, their parents said, why you listen to that black music? So when a Jamaican comes to America and gets into what is already black American culture and then is named the godfather of hip hop because of some break beat, the breaks that he was doing were black American breaks, and he didn't bring nothing to it. So I'm a rest.
All right, let me pass it to Only, then I'll pass it to Brandon after that. Go ahead, Only.
Okay, I'm gonna go quick because I'm waiting for my bus. But I just wanted to quickly say that first of all, the hip hop thing I think is a detail, and I really want to encourage people not to spend too much time on it. I mean, it is very interesting. You get to drop names and all that, but the main thing, if I remember correctly, was that originally people were saying, why weren't Caribbeans and Africans contributing to fighting against white supremacy? I think that's how it all started. Do you agree with that? Am I right?
No, you on a whole different topic right now.
Yeah, I remember in the very, very
Yeah.
beginning, they were saying, yeah, why do we have to carry all the brunt of everything, and the Caribbeans and the Africans aren't doing anything? That's how it started, and then it kind of morphed into, well, we want our reparations, and you guys can't have, and it just like whatever. But what I want to add is to the Caribbeans and the Africans, I want to say it's nerve wracking, to hear that and to think like, can I, be bold in a country that's not my own? Can I be bold and try to fight with the African Americans? I mean, will they just deport me and that's that's the end of the story? Like it's probably it's a fear, but I think. We just have to find it in ourselves and try, and do our part. And maybe our part is doing something in our country and inviting African Americans to there. Like maybe we can't do much in America, but either way, I think we shouldn't be influenced or coerced into doing something that we don't feel comfortable to do. That's one thing. And then the last thing I wanted to add is there's always the element of agent. Like every time I think about something, I always have to include the idea that there's an agent involved and is trying to disrupt things. Like just like France would hire terrorists to bother, African countries, one against the other, African tribes, one against the other, and just like they do with the Muslims, one group against the other. It's not impossible that people are trying to divide us, and whatever that we do, it's really important that we self-control ourselves and not have vitriol one against the other. I mean, if we really, really want to work together. Okay, my bus is here. That's all. Thank you.
All right, let me read these super chats. I'm gonna pass it to Brandon. Shout out to Black NRG, $1.99. Thank you. Marie Shy. I don't like the xenophobia coming from FBA, but otherwise I love my African American, Black American family. Peace and love. JC, thank you for the $4.99 holla. Tariq often says FBA's invented lots of stuff while Africans have not. I like to ask him, is it because of FBA's close proximity to whites? Go ahead, Brandon.
I just want to start off by saying this. No one can claim to be intelligent when carrying the banner of a con artist who basically threw a name at you that he stole from Dr. Claude Anderson and then monetized it and wrote the copy and bought the rights to it. Well, he bought the rights to it after Michi X bought the rights to it, and then she let it go and he bought it. It's a whole franchise, right? It's like a grift, right? He's getting paid off of it. So no one can really speak they can't genuinely speak about this when they know that the entire premise is based on a scam. Secondly, I've been doing research because we recently were talking about this on another podcast that I'm on, the Viral Way podcast, and you just got real ignorant people trying to talk about what happened in New York and what happened with hip hop. None of us were in New York, but all we can do is go by the only record that matters, the record of the white man dynasty, the Google record that all of us defer to when we want to know something about history. And if you Google who created hip hop, the first name that pops up is DJ Kool Herc of Jamaican descent. At the end of the day, Tariq Nasheed is big on the lexicon, or basically the written and oral history of the United States of America, and which he feels defines our journey in America. The American Lexicon says that DJ Kool Herc created hip hop. These people can never produce for you another name that can be credited with creating hip hop. And even if they throw a name out there, no one really knows enough about the person to be able to speak on the person with any real knowledge, right? Or in depth. I looked up what influence, Puerto Ricans had in hip hop. Basically, they were there from the very founding of it. There's a guy named DJ Charlie Chase. He was literally the DJ for the Cold Crush Brothers. He was right there from the information I read, 1974, at the damn inception of hip hop music. The guy was DJ for a few different hip hop groups from the very beginning. Then they did have more of an influence on the graffiti aspect. There's another guy named Tracy 168. He's the guy who created the wild style of graffiti, and he's Puerto Rican. And there's like 25 Puerto Ricans who were there on day one when hip hop was created. So you'll have to argue with those people and their families, but they did play a bigger part in the graffiti side. But if you go to like Netflix and you watch that movie, The Get Down, that show, that didn't primarily focus on black people. That had Puerto Ricans there in that depiction from day one, and FBA never said anything about it. On top of that, we all know the breakdance and stuff started in Africa. We got video footage of that coming straight out of Africa. They all on their head twirling, doing all the breakdance moves way back in the early 1900s. So to me, this is just a bunch of people trying to revise history because they're mad because they can't get reparations. Like, the reparations aspect is pretty much killed. So now they got to find something else to fight over. And I think it's disingenuous. And people who are intelligent, they really don't get involved in disingenuous arguments. We know what Tariq is doing. He's trying to make money. So these other people, what are you doing? Just being an agent of a dude who's a con artist. And people think he's an agent of white supremacy. Tariq Nasheed is on video saying he believes that African immigrants and Caribbean immigrants are a bigger threat to black people in America than white supremacy. So if you agree with him, you agree with that. And it just proves these people are trying to sell off. They've given, this last thing I'm going to say, Black America has given white people every single thing we have to offer. Dr. Claude Anderson talked about this. He called it progress through concession. You think you're going to make progress by giving shit away. We've given everything we had, including but not limited to our children. Now we sacrificed our children to their degenerate, gender bending movements, all that. They've taken these things and they've given us nothing. Now we're trying to give them our very identity. We're literally trying to sever ourselves from our ethnic roots to make ourselves more appealing to white folks. And I keep telling people, this is never going to work. So why continue to try to do it? It's dumb. You can't be smart and see and try to implement strategies that are self-destructive. There's no intelligence in doing that.
All right, go ahead, Drax, D. Grayson. Then I'll pass to Kofi.
I got to disagree, brother. I got a master's degree in counseling. I'm 5 years post-masters. I have my own business.
White man gave you that degree. He said Kool Herc started hip hop.
No, brother. I learned more about psychology on the streets of Hunters Point from Pence than I ever learned in a master's class. You know what I mean? It's psychology. It translates study of the soul. You got a soul, study it, right? Now, I don't agree with nothing you said about breakdancing. When I was breakdancing in the 80s, I never knew African. So how did it go over the sea to us? And who brought it? Who brought breakdancing to us?
You have a degree and you're asking that question? Really?
It ain't in motherfucking breakdancing.
You're muted, Brandon.
Dynas, that's what I'm saying. The more we try to throw out degrees and our qualifications, we discredit it with the ignorant questions we ask. How did it get to me from Africa? Dude, through your lineage, obviously.
Through my lineage? If so, my lineage told me how to break dance?
Yes.
Bro, ain't nothing new under the sun, bro.
Bro, you think breakdancing just happened? It spontaneously combusted, like all of a sudden they just popped up, bro. Dancing, everything is circular, bro. We might be doing this dance and then it evolves and it moves away from that for a while, then it comes right back around to it.
So you don't believe I had an ethnogenesis?
I don't believe you had an ethnogenesis. I believe that you're doing. I believe
everything came from Africa then.
Okay,
Everything came from
so
Africa.
no one taught you how to break dance. You just woke up one day and started doing breakdancing moves.
I had an ethnogenesis, and that's what breakdancing
I'm asking you, who taught you how to break dance? You woke up one day and just started, huh?
No, people in my neighborhood.
Okay, so where did they learn it from?
I hadn't asked, but I hadn't researched it.
So you haven't even done enough research to make the statements you're
to rule out Africa.
You just don't like Africa. That's okay. But what I'm telling you is everybody learned something from somewhere. Michael Jackson didn't just make up the moonwalk. He didn't.
No. I don't got nothing against Africa, except for the Africans I met. You know what I mean? I don't got nothing against Africa, just as a whole.
Who taught Michael Jackson how to do the moonwalk?
I wouldn't know. I thought he invented it.
Wasn't no African.
Right. I'll give you that. I'll give you that right there. But he got that stuff from like Bob Fosse, Fred Astaire. These are white guys. He never discredited those people. He acknowledged, man, like I watched all the great.
So you're trying to say we got our style from white people?
I'm telling you.
There's a documentary I watched where Michael Jackson did say he looked up to Fred Astaire. They showed footage of Fred Astaire in black and white doing the moonwalk.
That's what that's what people don't want to accept. Everything.
So Brandon, you're saying we got our style from white people?
Black American culture is very influenced by white culture, African culture. It's an amalgamation of culture.
No, but it's dominant though. It's dominant.
We're not talking about dominant. We're talking about the amalgamation. The American culture is an amalgamation of many different cultures. So no one can say we invented this or we created that. That's what makes us American, the coming together of many different
So nobody, what about the inventions? Nobody can say they created them?
White man invented the car. That's what we know.
When?
He invented the combustion engine. That's what we know.
Let me get in here and cook Brandon, because Brandon, you know, he already know how I
got to tag in because he know you can't.
When did he invent the car?
Come on, man.
Really? This is why I got to click these streams, man, because I got to be the force for Black Americans. You know what I'm saying? Look,
this dude argument is received like his hairline.
I say I ain't gonna do that to the brother. Don't do that. That's our Black American brother. So
you
now look,
neck bastard. Where your neck at? You be shooting that jujitsu, motherfucker. You ain't got no neck. Where his neck at?
Wow.
You're right. You got me. I don't have
that's not nice.
True.
But yeah, so look, I think Brandon, you understand where I come from. I follow no man. Yes, I put FBA in the thing because that's what we're calling ourselves now. I'm a Black American, proudly of Western Central African descent. Right? I'm not a wabbo. I'm not none of that nonsense. But when I speak on hip hop from a New York standpoint, I'm speaking from what I know. Our relationship with Hispanics was not as bad as your relationship with Hispanics on the West Coast was, but there's been a lot of speed bumps in there. So those speed bumps and the cultural differences with them coming from the island, and it gets so deep that even Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico have smoke for New Yorkers, right? There's a separation there. They say you're not really Puerto Rican. So when you talk about that separation, the separation between Black American culture and Puerto Rican culture was vast in New York City. They were there, but we created it. So when you talk about Kool Herc, he was mixing all Black American music. He didn't bring anything with him from Jamaica. He came into a system that was already there. I could be grimy, but Black Americans are not normally grimy like this. Say we created their shit. But what I will say is Bob Marley and a whole bunch of other Jamaicans listen to Black American artists as inspiration. We never got inspiration from them. One of my brothers on the panel, I think he's from the Bronx, mentioned Biggie. No, I think it's the Nigerian brother from the Bronx. Yeah, mentioned Biggie. I'm from Brooklyn. We don't rock. A lot of us don't rock with Biggie because of the sus stuff that he was saying. She looks so good. I'll do that to her daddy, right?
Oh, come on. Yeah, that's petty. That's petty.
No. But it's pause. Though. But hold on. Nah, what do you mean it's pause? That rhyme was crazy.
I said it's petty. Like you got like that's like you focus
on
that.
It's not because he's Jamaican. It's because of the stuff that he said. I can tell you about Bobby Condors and Matt. We rock with Caribbean music. Absolutely. But we never tried to say that it was ours, especially if you're from New York. So I done ordered fish and festival and all of that. You know, I've been to Golden Crust, but at the end of the day, I'm Black American, and there was a difference. You know what I'm saying? On a global scale, they had their stuff, we had our stuff. They participated in ours. We went to Labor Day parade and Jamaican parties and all of that, but we don't say that we created it. You know what I'm saying? So that's all the whole issue here is that they're trying to say that they created. As far as the Puerto Ricans, my brother Brandon mentioned some Puerto Rican DJ who was DJing for Black Americans. I push back on the 5 elements of hip hop theory. The only thing about hip hop that matters is the rapping. All right. So take the Puerto, let's say hip hop, if Puerto Ricans help create it, if Jamaicans help create it, right? Then where were the Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans influencing Midwest hip hop? Where were the Puerto Rican and Jamaicans influencing Southern hip hop? Where were they influencing West Coast hip hop or rap at that time? They weren't. This is something that we had because the people in Chicago, those are people that migrated from Mississippi. Everybody from New York, or North and South, and from Georgia. When you go to California, they migrated from Oklahoma and even as far west, far east as the South. But it's our stuff. So that's the whole thing. You know, you could say the white man said this. Yeah, of course. We grew up under the duress of the white man. So we're going to have white influence in our stuff, but we make it we put that little flavor in it, which is why you can eat Black American potato salad, but you can't eat white American potato salad.
Go ahead, Kofi. Go ahead, Kofi. I'm gonna pass the Ghana stepper after that. Go ahead, Kofi.
This whole thing is about cultural purity, and other than the whites, right? Other than the Anglo-Saxon, the Southern Brits, who went as far as to denounce the white Jews, went as far to denounce the dark-skinned Italians, who later joined the white supremacy club. It never was a question where the down low, the dirty, gritty music came from until other cultural purists entered the United States, and that's our African brothers, our Caribbean brothers, and our Latino brothers and sisters. Now, you could give credit to your culture on a platform without throwing Black Americans under the bus. And this argument starts from Busta Rhymes at the Soul Frito, the Urban Latin Music Festival. While he's saying where he got his rhythm from as a Caribbean Jamaican, at the same time he's throwing Black Americans under the bus and saying they ain't got this and they ain't got this and they ain't got this like us. Oh, they're Yankees, they're whites. And that's something that you notice. That's something that you recognize when being compared with other international Blacks. It's like we don't have we never had to put Black American purity out there until others started to put themselves in front of us and started throwing us under the bus. And that's where Fat Joe is coming in, and that's where Busta Rhymes is coming in. And Black Americans, like people who have clout, people who have followers on the internet, there are representation. Other than Tariq Nasheed, I like to point out the Daily Rap Crew. When you go to the African continent, you know, once you start speaking English, it's like, okay, you're not an African, and you're not a part of these ethnic groups that people hold so dearly. And it's all about cultural purity. And the argument is coming, the argument and the divisiveness is definitely coming from the Caribbean and African side, because you know that's where they're deeply rooted in, coming from the Caribbean and coming from the African continent.
All right, let me pass the Ghana stepper. Ghana stepper, go ahead.
Shalom, appreciate that.
First of all, if I can, I want to give all praises to the Most High, the name of Yahshua HaMashiach. And to speak on what the brother previously, excuse me, was speaking on as far as what Busta Rhymes said at the Sofrito interview, he said something and I noticed and it was real interesting. He said that, you know, while he was bloviating and talking, he said that when he got comfortable, that's when he started to bring out his Caribbean culture. So which one is it? Like, I'm asking myself, you know, it logically doesn't make sense, because if you had to wait until you were comfortable to bring out your Caribbean culture, how can you say it was in the beginning? You know, and that just speaks to the further point of us just being comfortable letting anybody, whether they're Caribbean, African, you know, come in, Latino, Puerto Rican, come into our midst, and we treat them as a brother. But then when they leave and they get around their quote unquote friends, so to speak, it becomes a part where they're civilizing us, so to speak. So, you know, my thing is this, you know, I don't think no American, no Black American would go to Jamaica, would go to Haiti, and try to speak against the pulse of that country. So when I see Jamaicans or Haitians, Nigerians come to America and then turn their backs on us, not even socially, but politically, that's the problem. You know, because, you know, we would never go to Jamaica and try to tell the prime minister, or, you know, tell the people that's suffering that they need to stop crying about their suffering. So that's important. We need that distinction. And, you know, coming from me, believing that a lot of us here are Israelites, you know, in Africa, America, with me saying that we do need to delineate, you know, as far as on this soil politically, that's something I feel is necessary.
Those were 100% facts. I appreciate what you said, brother.
No doubt.
I think that like Black American people, one thing we really do good is like play the victim, right? Whenever we feel it's convenient, everyone is picking on us, everyone's attacking us and all this stuff. If you're Black American, you know that's a lie. We attack each other. We first attack each other for any differences in our own group. And don't let another Black person from anywhere else come amongst us. They're going to get attacked for the different aspects of whatever group they came from, whether it's at school, whatever. Back in the day, we tease little African kids. You tease a Jamaican kid, whatever. You go to Florida, where the damn Haitians had to resort to pretty much violence to defend themselves from the aggression of Black Americans. I mean, if anybody's, it's like, this is why a lot of Black people struggle to get ahead in America. We are very vicious. We like to hurt and attack other people and ourselves. But then we try to act like we're the victim. That game is over. FBA has actually helped bring it into that fallacy, because they are on the internet showing their true spirit. There's a scripture in the Bible that says the devil walks around like a lion seeking to devour someone because he knows his time is short, right? Basically, that means that the devil's going to be destroyed and he wants to take anybody he can with him. Black America is tanking fast. The victimhood has us going downhill quickly. And instead of realizing it and reversing our course and trying to move towards prosperity, we just want to take anyone down that we can with us. And other groups are recognizing that, and they're starting to separate from Black America, which is an intelligent thing to do. And the Black Americans who don't want to go down with the ship, they are separating from the group as a whole. Even if you watch videos on social media, people looting and robbing and trying to steal phones and cabs. Yes, all groups might be doing that, but overwhelmingly it's our group. And to continue to try to be dishonest about it, it doesn't help anyone. Just like Les Brown said, the problem when you argue for your limitations is that if you win the argument, you get to keep them. We argue to defend, protect, and absolve ourselves from obvious things we are doing that hurt our culture and hurt society as a whole. But now,
my brother, let me ask you this. let me ask you this, since you dominate the conversation.
Well, I'm dominating.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't call you a tether because you say you're a Black American, but your talking points are very, and I'm being ignorant when I say this, coonish, for lack of a better word.
So Malcolm X is a coon.
I would deal with your talking points as I would talk to a coon.
So Elijah Muhammad is a coon. Because all these people had the same damn talking points. That's why they were making self-improvement organizations. They acknowledged that Negroes were in a bad state and needed to improve the way they function within society. But if I say it, it's a problem. That doesn't mean I'm a coon. That means you and your mama are hypocrites.
Yo,
so
Brandon, come on.
When you're saying black people,
come at me with that crap.
When you're saying black people are taking a victim mentality, what are you talking about?
Exactly what you're doing. Brandon, you're telling the truth about our culture. So now you're a coon. You're trying to attack me for saying the truth about our culture, bro. I am a Black American growing up in America just like you. Let's ask anybody on here. You're walking down the street. You see a group of Asians on the dark alley, the Asian boys. You're going to walk through the alley not even thinking about it. You see the same group of Black people in the same alley. Your ass going to be like, man, I'm going to go around the whole fucking block. Right or wrong, Dynas?
Depends where I'm at.
Depends where you're
You
at.
can't ask another.
Yeah, exactly. Because in New York, you're not going through that alley.
Listen, man, ain't nobody worried about an Asian robbing them. Ain't nobody worried about an Indian robbing them. Ain't nobody worried about a white boy robbing them. If you see a bunch of black dudes, you like, these dudes is up to no good. You're worried about it. Even if now they might look innocent, so you might be like, these dudes don't look like they're about that life. But you know, like I know, what the face of degenerate behavior is looking like in our communities right now. I'm not talking about in Whitefield, Maine. In our Black communities, we are doing things to each other. And by denying it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah, let me jump in here. If the brother from Louisiana is not finished, I'll pass the mic to him. You finished, brother?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you. Look, I'm not going to play and act like they're not issues in the Black American community, right? Because the only way you can fix them is to acknowledge them, call them out, ostracize people who are doing that, and shame the devil, essentially, right? But the issue is when you try to paint Black Americans as the primary blacks on the planet that have the worst problems, and that's not the case. Because if you understand, and you do understand, that Black people worldwide have issues. So everything you say to me about this, I could tell you about Benin City, what you could tell me about Brooklyn. But I'm not gonna give Asian Crips in Long Beach a pass because they'll rob you too. I'm not going to give Puerto Ricans in New York City a pass because they'll do whatever they do. Every group, racial group on the planet has their degenerates. You understand what I'm saying? So I think, when it gets to coon territory, and I'm not calling you a coon, is that when you just blanketly label us as opposed to just saying the worst of us, or not even the worst of us, those of our culture, of our people who are living at the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, because they don't represent everybody. And that's the problem. When you speak like that, they sound like white supremacist talking points. I want to end with this. When you talked about the Haitians, and I'm assuming you talk about Zopound, when they created Zopound as a group because they were being bullied. Understand that Miami has a heavy immigrant population, especially Caribbean. And if you ask Haitians who are over 25 years old, because I think Zopound been around either that long or longer, they will tell you that it was Jamaicans that was bullying Haitians first. I'm from New York. If you've been to the West Indian Day Parade, back in the day, you know, Trinity's didn't rock with this float, Jamaicans didn't rock with that float. It's nationalism. But guess what? I'm not going to hold them to that because it's human. It's human nature to separate. It's human nature to be nationalistic. Black Americans, we're not above or below the ability to be grimy, but we were here first. So when you come amongst us and call us lazy and call us this while ignoring everything that we went through, that causes you to think that. Well, we don't have the energy to go into Jamaica and go into here and say, oh, look at you guys, you're doing this and you're doing that. That's the thing. They come amongst us throwing shots. We don't go amongst them throwing shots. We go to Africa building boreholes and Airbnbs and all kind of stuff. They come amongst us a lot of times, and not all of them. So I don't want to generalize them throwing shots. That's the issue here.
Quick correction, it wasn't Jamaicans, it was Bahamians. Bahamians who forgot their Bahamian heritage.
It's not your turn, bro. Go, information man show. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, and I'm going to drop off. I'm not going to take up your time. I just wanted to give some pushback on what Brandon was saying. You know darn well that there is criminality amongst other ethnic groups. Most ethnic groups attack each other. Where I live in California. Most Asians attack other Asians. They do home invasion. That's a stat that's true. In the Sacramento area, you have the Hmong population. You know this, Donis. They attack each other. Okay, within the Jamaican community and other ethnic groups, they attack each other. When you look at white people in general, white people do crimes where you can see it on TV on specials. White people commit crimes where they conspire to kill their wives, their husbands, and all sorts of stuff. White men engage in what we call mass shootings. Let me finish what I'm saying here, please? Thank you. Proximity is right, brother. But white men are the ones who do most of the mass shooting in terms of going into schools and taking people out. White men engage in sort of white supremacist activities where they think that their lifeblood is gone, so they'll go and shoot up stuff. White people have been the biggest criminals in the world. Now, of course, what we do, gentlemen, is that we take the minimum and we make it the maximum. This case that if we have black people that are regenerate in behavior, we make them the maximum, especially on social media. And we say, oh, this represents all black people. No, it doesn't. It represents those black people that are regenerate with their behavior, just like every group of ethnic group of people. Hell, if you go to East India, you guess what they do in India? They run scams where they scam older people through the computer. And they put viruses in your computer to try to scam you. You got, in Nigeria, you got Nigerians that run scams. Everybody's running a scam. Russians run scams. I lived in San Francisco. We had Russians, we had Asians. I knew when I was in high school, I knew people who did what they call, what do you call that? When you steal cars and you chop them. I knew Asian dudes that were in gangs at my high school that would tell me, hey, this is what we would do. So everybody could be a criminal. Now, let me drop this one on you as a reminder, and you can go check this out. The FBI statistics breaks it down very clearly. When it comes to white people, white men engage in sexual crimes, the R word, at 69.8%, where black men engage at 26.7%. Now, when it comes to aggravated assault, white men engage in this at 61.8%, while black men are at 32.2%. Arson, and I work in the prison system, gentlemen, so I see stats on criminality, and we got plenty of white folks in the prison system in California who engage in sexual crimes against their own family, okay? Arson, 70.8% white men engage in this, 24.7% for black men. Violent crimes. You say that, well, black people are the most violent criminals. Damn it. You can go into certain areas where Asian people live at in their bad neighborhoods, and you can actually be attacked as a black person because some of these other ethnic groups that live here in this country and have their own communities, they may not like black people. They may have anti-black sentiments towards you and don't want you in their community. Hell, for those of you that are back east, you know in New York, the Italians don't want you walking into their neighborhood and dating their daughters. We had incidents like that back in the 80s where black people were attacked by Italians going into Italian neighborhoods because they might have been dating an Italian girl. These are documented. These are facts. When it comes to violent crime, white men engage in 59.9% criminal activity in terms of violent crimes, where black men are at 36.4%. When it comes to homicide rates, we are actually a little bit higher there, but they're not that far behind us. We're at 51.2%, and that's unfortunate for us to be engaging in that kind of behavior. But white men are at 45.8% in that area. And I'm getting ready to close out here. When it comes to aggravated offenses against your family. They say the black man attacks his family. No, he don't. The white man attacks his family at 65.8%, while the black man is at 28.3%. Sexual offenses, I know them very well. I deal with these suckers all the time in the job. And a sexual offense, these suckers engage in sexual offense at 74.6%, while black men are at 20.6%. Overall, nobody of any ethnic group should be engaging in criminal activity. But when you set up here, anybody on this panel or anybody on these YouTube streets and say that black people are the face of overall crime in America, you're a goddamn lie. And you know why you're a lie? Because the FBI is the one that keeps these stats. And these are the stats that I've been reading off. So we're not the most violent. Do we do disproportionate crime against each other? Yes. Every group does. Should we be doing these things? No. I say shame on black people that attack each other and attack other black people in the global world. But to set up here and paint this picture as if black people are just simply criminals, this is why we get stereotypes, gentlemen, where you as a black man, whether you have a suit on, whether you're wherever you're going, this is why people will look at us and stereotype us, because they have this belief that we're all criminals when they look at 10 o'clock news, when we know, and I did a video about this, statistically, there are more black men getting into college and skilled trades that are doing positive things. But what we do is that we minimize the maximum and then we maximize the goddamn minimum. This is the goddamn information, man. And I have dropped facts on your asses today. Have a great day.
All right, information man. Let's bring it back to the conversation, though.
Wait a minute.
Can you attribute the black stats to tethers?
Wait a minute. Can we?
Yes or no?
Can I please respond to that since he directed
Yes.
that? Because he made a straw man argument against.
See, that is the problem. The problem here is that Tariq Nasheed and his FBI cronies want to cast all blame on so-called tethers. Now, you with the facts should know, obviously, that is not the case, being that you work so closely and intimately with the prison population. Can you shed some light on that?
Dinus, can I please respond to the straw
He's
man argument?
gone already. Brandon was going to respond to what he said.
Yeah.
He left. Go ahead, Brandon.
He made a straw man argument. He purposely misrepresented what I said so he could tell you a bunch of stats that were totally out of context. The guy is arguing white crime versus black crime. For the amount of people that the segment or the number of the United States population that black people make up, we are committing disproportionately more crime against ourselves and others than any other group. Prime example, I put a link in the back showing 6 black men in San Jose who went on a crime spree of over 100 robberies committed against Asians in San Jose. They were going into the Asian shopping area, robbing old ladies, robbing old Asian men, taking their money, and I think a couple of people even died. You cannot produce the equivalent of Asians doing that to black people. You cannot produce the equivalent of white people doing that to black people. Everything black people are doing, you never see other groups do it to us. Nakmeezy said Asian Crips in Long Beach rob black people. They do not. You can't find one incident of the Asian Crip in Long Beach robbing anybody black in Long Beach. I promise you, it has never, ever happened, because Asians rob other Asians and they might rob a Mexican. No one, only group that might rob a black person is maybe some Mexicans. And even that's rare, because most people don't really associate black people with having a whole lot of money in their pocket at one time, right? They know we carry debit cards and shit. We can keep on talking about it, trying to deflect onto other groups. There was a rapper named PNB Rock. He got killed in Los Angeles, came to visit Los Angeles. Black people went into a restaurant, Roscoe's, blew brains out in front of his baby mama, took his jewelry and robbed him. That man could have been in the heart of Klan country and been safer than he is in Los Angeles, California, or any black urban area in any black major city in the United States. we continue to try to deflect from the facts. We are in more danger in our own communities than we are in danger in other communities. That's why black people get money and move away from other blacks. You can argue, and this the stats, and this says this, and this says that. Show me the group of whites going around robbing black folks. Asians might rob you across the counter at their liquor store. They might get over on you like that, but they are not coming into your community, breaking in your houses, stealing shit. Black
Okay, Brandon. Brandon, this is where you're wrong. You live in you live in LA, right? You remember the Latino gangs? Remember? All right, let him finish. But he's trying to make it sound like other ethnic groups don't impact black people. It's not true.
Interrupt you.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Produce the news article equivalent to this one, or show me a news article where Asian people went up into the black PG County and start robbing rich black folks' houses in PG County. And I'll show you the 1,000 articles of black people going up into Alhambra, going up into Rancho Cucamonga, going up into the Anaheim Hills in Asian communities, robbing those people, killing them, holding them hostage, getting in shootouts with the police. Bro, that's why all the other groups are turning on you. If you look on social media, they have this saying now, it's the usual suspects. That's what other groups are now saying about black people when they produce footage of us doing heinous crimes. They are starting to catch on, and if we don't police our own shit, you don't believe it's true. But these other groups will turn on us. And when that happens, there's not going to be nothing we can do to stop it. When we become synonymous with the criminal element of this society, if you look, Dinus, show me a video of Asians running up in the Nike store, crashing a car through the front, looting the freaking Nike store. Show me a video of them going into the jewelry store, busting all the glass, looting the jewelry store, stealing ATMs out of businesses in Oakland and Atlanta. Even though other groups do that, we are disproportionately doing it, and we are growing more brazen by the minute. That is why.
Are you robbing people?
Brandon, let me ask you. Brandon, make your point, Brandon, and then I want to rebut what you were saying.
My last point. That is why the 94 crime bill disproportionately impacted black people. We are the only ones who complain about that because we were doing a disproportionate amount of the crime, and no other group came out and said they needed to rescind those bills and laws or nothing. They didn't care because they were not defending their criminal element.
Well, hold up, Brandon. I thought that was the Jamaicans and the Bahamians and the Congolese and the Nigerians.
Yeah. What Dinus, if I wanted to just say this. Brandon, what you're doing that's wrong, brother, is that when I brought up those stats, the point was a lot of ethnic groups, when they commit crime, they do tend to commit crime against each other. So, yes, there are white people who band together like these black men that you have on here, and they might rob other white people, or they might do miscellaneous type of behavior. Now, when you talk about black people going into stores and robbing, I do not condone it. I think it's wrong. But guess what? See, there's a lot of things that other ethnic. See, I had the beauty of living in the Bay Area where I'm around a lot of different ethnic groups growing up that I talked to, that I was friends with. And I'm going to say it again. A lot of these other ethnic groups do commit crimes, but we don't a lot of times hear about it. I said clearly that a lot of Asian gangs that were in the Bay Area and San Francisco, you know what they engage in? They engage in crimes where they steal cars, they chop them up. They also deal with this, and Dinus, you probably know about this because you're from the Sacramento area. A lot of these houses in the suburbs in the Sacramento area or throughout California, where you've got these weed laboratories, a lot of them were linked back to Asian gangs who were running operations in homes that they were purchasing, and they were using them to grow marijuana. So a lot of the crimes that they may engage in, sometimes may be crimes that don't actually maybe physically harm people physically, but they still harm the society because they're either doing they're pushing drugs, they're fentanyl, they are stealing your car. You go outside, you're like, where's my fucking car? Because they steal the car and they chop it. And that's an equal opportunity for any race of people. Now, when you show this right here, that you show this as one anecdotal issue of, oh, these are some black guys who targeted Asians. Guess what? Growing up, you had black people have always been the target of other ethnic groups. You know this, Brandon, that when black people first got to South Central LA, which was really populated by Europeans, who were the ones who created the first gangs in LA? It was white people who were attacking black people, and black people had to form their own coalitions to protect themselves against the white gangs that were running around rampant out there in LA. Just like you had white gangs in Chicago.
Irish laborers,
right? You had
their jobs,
right? But they were affecting us. Well, sir, it doesn't, sir. It doesn't matter. They were Europeans and they were attacking black people. So what I'm saying to you is, when you say that white people or other groups have never attacked us, this is how Brandon. This is how the prison system works, Brandon. When black people got into prison, blacks and Latinos were being attacked by white gang members in the prison system. This is how it all got formed.
Why are blacks attacking Asians?
Well, is it all? Let me ask you this question, Brandon. I'm going to answer your question. These particular individuals. This is what I meant by what I was saying earlier. We use the minimum and we make it the maximum. These guys right here who commit this crime, I say it's wrong for them to do this, Brandon. But these 6 black men don't represent the majority of black men who pay their taxes, who go to work like me, who have a family like me, who take care of business. We keep using these type of men to represent who we are. They don't represent us, Brandon. Just like you got Asian people who don't commit crime, and then there's some that do.
Like you, who claim to know what you're doing and handle business, you defend men like
I'm not defending them, Brandon. I did not defend them, Brandon. I have said several times on this broadcast today. No, I'm not reflecting. I said what they wrong. Brandon, no, I'm not. What I just said is that I don't agree with what they're doing. I don't agree with black men going into stores and ripping stuff off, because why? I end up having to pay a higher price. I don't agree with their behavior, just like I don't agree with the criminality of any other ethnic group that engages in it. What I'm saying to you respectfully, Brandon, is that I don't agree with anything that these Negroes did up here, but they don't represent me and they don't represent you.
Let me say this respectfully to you. When it comes to black people, if 6 black men do something, we quick to say, well, they don't represent all blacks. But if 2 white guys do something, every white person gets held responsible for it. If one,
that's not no, we don't. White people, Brandon, you have it wrong. When white people commit crime, they don't. Listen, Brandon. Let me just say this point right here, brother, respectfully to you. When white people commit crimes, Brandon, and you know this, the whole race is not judged by that one white person. So when that white man went to Las Vegas and he shot up that country western concert in Las Vegas, whenever they do their serial killer crimes, you don't hear anybody in the news or even white people themselves saying, oh my God, it represents us. Nobody says that. But when black people, let me make my point here. But whenever a black man or a group of black men like this do a crime that's heinous, and I don't agree with it, Brandon, it becomes attached to all of us. But no other group has their criminality and their culture attached to them but black people.
Both of y'all are having an old argument.
Yes, sir. We are having an argument, but it's the fact that we always get attached to everything.
But isn't the point today that Tariq Nasheed and the FBA ilk are relaying this now and transporting this onto black immigrants, on so-called tethers, and associating that behavior with black immigrants? Isn't that what we're here to discuss?
Black people keep saying when black people commit crime. Wait a minute. when black people commit crime, we quickly say, we're not a monolith. You can't hold us accountable for everything other black people do. Let one Asian hit your car, you're going to be screaming, see, I told you them Asians, they can't drive. Black people love approaching other groups in a monolithic way.
Right.
Have a stereotypical approach to every fucking group. If a white person does something you don't like in a store, or if they argue, oh, what is that person? We could all sit in together. They're a racist because all white people are racist if one white person was racist. So let's apply to us the same thing we apply to the same logic we apply to everybody else. If one of us do it, we all get responsible. Martin Luther King said this best: an injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. If we defend, or if one black person does something and that person is not immediately ostracized by the community, then guess what? It's like we all did it. And we are the only group that constantly defends our criminal element. Oh, it's because of slavery. You don't understand.
I didn't say anything like that, Brennan. I didn't say everything that I've said today has nothing to do with making a, but that's not what I'm saying, though.
Are the only group in America that openly defends.
How
Brandon, you switched that around. You didn't answer his question.
He never answered my question. He never answers questions.
Wait, hold on. I've been quiet. I haven't said anything. Let me just jump in real quick.
Thank you,
You
brother.
switched that around. Brandon, he said to you, why is it that when whites commit crimes, they don't judge the whole group like that? You switched it around and said, oh, black people judge white. That's not what he said. He asked you a specific question, my brother. How come when wait, hold on, let me finish. I'm gonna land my plane. Well, how come when whites commit pedophilia, rape, and all these crimes, when they off mass shootings and they off their family members, how come other whites, and they do it quite consistently, how come other whites don't say, well, we're all like that?
Because
that's what he asked you. You didn't answer.
I'm answering the question because white people hold their criminals accountable.
That's a lie.
Wait a minute.
That's a lie. I'm going to tell you why it's a lie.
Mr. Information. Hold on.
No problem, brother. No problem, brother. Respect to you.
White man shoot up a school today, Dynas. What color gonna be the people that come get his ass, put him on trial, lock his ass up for the rest of his life? They're gonna be white. Let a black person shoot up a black community. If the white man didn't come get his ass, nobody would do nothing. He'll be roaming that community, killing people for the next decade. They hold every criminal accountable. So they don't have to be looked at as like, oh yeah, they are criminals. White people, they execute the justice in this country, whether it's a black person terrorizing your community or it's a white person. Or
it's not. All right, Mr. Brennan.
Back in the day when black people would commit crime and the police would come in and say, who did this shooting? I didn't see nothing. Black people were known. We got a whole moniker. Stop snitching. No snitching. Black people have not always, but ever since the civil rights movement, we have defended criminality and our communities have paid for it. That's why when black people get money and they want to move to a safe place, they go move right among the racists, the KKK, white people that they claim to be scared of, because they know that in their community, justice will never be served by the people who live in the community. So they go to a community where people get held accountable when they get some money.
Mr. Brandon, this is my rebut to what you're saying. You just sat up here and said to everybody that whenever white people commit crimes, that they are held accountable by their community. Well, that's not true, because white people have committed crimes, particularly against black people over the years, in which they've gotten away with it. We know that what happened in the Tulsa, Oklahoma situation, they had a riot, they killed black people, and they got away with it. And then we have the sister who's still alive, who's over 100 years old. They've been trying to get their reparations, and the damn courts in Oklahoma have denied Mrs. Fletcher, who's 108 years old, the two survivors, her brother passed away. They can't get a damn reparations for a black woman that survived the Tulsa, Oklahoma by white people that killed and burned and pillaged and bombed a black community. So that's not true. When you look at what's happening today, everybody is when white men kill, they're made heroes of. Look what's happening with this Luigi guy. They're trying to make a hero out of him. You got white folks on both sides or either side, or who think the guy is a hero because he killed he took the life of that CEO of that rip-off health company, right? Then you've got the other guy, Daniel Penny, who chokes a black man. I don't give a damn if that black man had mental health problems. He had issues. And instead of them bringing these illegals into New York, instead of them bringing these illegals into New York, maybe that young man, Jordan Neely, would have had an opportunity to get some services, right? But he is taken out of here by Daniel Penny, who they've made a hero out of, and they've even invited him to a damn Army and Navy game. The president and all his other cronies have invited him. So, and there are tons of cases where white men have killed black men, whether it be police, whether it be white men that have hung black men on strings or hung them on nooses, have gotten away with it. There's tons of cases where white people have gotten off, particularly law enforcement, have gotten off for taking the lives of black men, whether it be New York, California, wherever. There has been tons of situations where white men have gotten off for it. And when white men go out and commit crimes like serial killer crimes, mass shootings, youth or adults, the mass media does not demonize the white community and say, hey, white community, what are you going to do about the kids that you keep raising that are going out and doing mass killing? Because you notice whenever black people do crime, the first thing that everybody does is says, what's wrong with the black community and what's wrong with where's the black father and where's the black mother? Why is it, Brandon, when white people go out and do despicable crimes, like I've just mentioned, that nobody is leaning on the white community about what's wrong with their men, their boys? Why are white women and white men raising white boys who grow up and do mass shooting, who do criminal activity or get involved in these hate groups? Why is it that nobody examines the and I work in psychology. Why is it nobody examines the psychological issues that the white man has? Because the white man is concerned for his genetic survival. Therefore, he runs around and he has to find someone to blame for problems, just like he did with the black man, right? Remember when black people came out of Reconstruction into this society? Why did you have unions, Brandon? Why did you have problems? Because white men were angry that they thought that black men were going to take their jobs. So you had riots, you had union riots throughout this country where we were attacked. So what I'm saying to you is, brother, that you can't, your argument that other groups, or particularly white people in particular, in this case for me, who have attacked us over time, that they don't attack us. That's not true.
Oh, two lies.
It's not true. It's not true.
First of all, you said that Tulsa, Oklahoma residents weren't given reparations. Tulsa, Oklahoma was burned in 1921. By 1925, the residents of Tulsa, Oklahoma had received reparations from that.
No. I'm talking about the living descendant, Mrs. Fletcher, who's Brandon, I'm talking about today, brother, not way back when. There are two living descendants. There are two living people who were little kids when it happened. Mrs. Viola Fletcher, who is living today. They just had a legal case a year ago, and her case got turned down in the Oklahoma courts, I should say. She was fighting for reparations and they turned her down and turned her back. And no one held her accountable. Wait a minute now. The woman who was responsible for Emmett Till, the woman that lied on Emmett Till, she was still alive. And even the Biden Justice Administration didn't get the family justice. The DOJ didn't put that woman in prison or bring her to trial, even after she admitted on several documentations that she lied, which caused Emmett Till to be what? Murdered. So when you sit up here, I want everybody to know the truth today. When you sit up here and say that white people, when they commit crime, that their people handle it, there are tons of examples. The example of that woman who lied on Emmett Till, the example of Viola Fletcher, who's alive today, living in Oklahoma. Her lawyers filed a case against the Oklahoma courts. The Oklahoma courts turned them down, and she can't get reparations for she's the last living person from that time. Even it was Biden's DOJ who turned it down. So this whole thing about white people hold other white people accountable. accountable is not true. I'm not listening to you, Brandon, because you're being disingenuous, you're lying, you're not being honest, and you're not a man of real history and knowledge here, because you sat up here and said that white people are always held accountable by other white people. No, they're not. There's tons of incidents where black people have been terrorized by white people throughout the history, and they got away with it, Brandon. So you're telling a lie. You're telling a lie. And I already said this very clearly. Brandon, you can't argue with me, brother. I see crime statistics. Let me just say this to you, Prince Dynasty, and I'm going to get off of here. At my job of employment, I see criminal stats. And I see, God, will you be quiet? We incarcerate more people in the state of California than any other place in the country. I see all sorts of other ethnic groups who have committed heinous crimes. So this thinking that we do not hate, that this whole ideology that black people are the only ones that commit crimes, Dynas, is not true. All groups. Now, Brandon sat up here and said that we don't hold our criminals accountable. Brandon, I just said to you respectfully, my brother, that I do not like criminals in our culture. I don't like criminals in our culture. I do not defend them at all, Brandon. But you can't sit up here and lie to the people and say that when white people commit crimes, that they're held accountable. They're not always held accountable, Brandon. Sometimes they get off. Why is it that Daniel Penny has been made a hero all the way to the point that he's hanging out with the president, the vice president, and all the other cronies? Why is it that a white woman who admitted in transcripts and books and interviews that she lied about Emmett Till, that she made the story up, and when she was alive, when she was
Rosewood massacre,
right,
she stayed alive and free all the way to 2005.
Thank you, KP. Thank you, KP. KP, that's all I'm trying to say is that there were. I'm not talking about past history. I'm talking about recent times. That woman was not brought to justice for what happened to Emmett Till. Miss Fletcher, a living descendant of the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots, she went to court, she followed the law, and the law did not give her the justice. So this whole thing about white people are always held accountable for their crimes is not true. You've had plenty of cases where white people got off for harming black people, particularly your police officers who have gotten off. So, Brandon, you tell a lot of lies on YouTube, brother. You tell too many lies on YouTube. You tell too much bullshit and propaganda. Don't listen to the propaganda that Brandon puts out on YouTube, everybody, because a lot of his propaganda is misleading black people. And matter of fact, Brandon, I want to ask you this question. Every time I hear you talk, like most black Republicans, all you talk about is the bad part of black society. Most of you guys, I'm not a Democrat, brother. I'm an independent. I'm not a Democrat, never been a Democrat. I'm an independent. But what I notice about black Republicans, you guys spend most of your time talking negatively about black people, right? Everything. And this is the thing that's funny about it. This is the thing that's funny about it. Why you guys hold the water for your white daddy? Your white daddy is not doing anything for you, but using you to push his agenda. Because by you saying the things that you say,
black Democrats.
What I notice about black Democrats is that black Democrats, Brennan, I'll say this to you, Brennan. I have videos on my channel. This is how I feel about them, Brandon. I don't like black Democrats. I've done videos on my channel, Brandon, where I have called out the Congressional Black Caucus. I have called out Obama. I have gone in on the Democrats. I have problems with the Democrat. No, I'm not a Democrat. I have called the Democrats out. No, Brandon, because my channel is proof positive. I have videos where I have called and exposed the Democratic Party and even the Negroes in California who did not put forth that reparations bill. So this is no, I'm not justifying any criminals. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not a hypocrite. No. This is what I do. No, Brandon. No, gentlemen. Let me just say this, because Brandon is dumb. Brandon is dumb. This is why he's dumb, everybody. This is why I'm insulting you. This is why I'm going to insult you. Because Brandon. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Let me just say this. This is why I'm insulting you, Brandon. This is why I'm insulting you. Let me just say this, Brandon. Let me say this. Let me just say this. Let me say this. Let me say this. Oh, you don't know what neighborhood I live in. What you talking about, brother? I've lived in Oakland for many years. What are you talking about? I lived in the Fillmore area. I lived in the Oakland area. What are you talking about, fool?
Look at what the bay looks like with black.
Check this out. Check this out, Brandon. Let me just say this to you. Let me say this to you.
I got a link in the back. I got a link in the back right now. Diners haven't clicked it. Of black people driving cars through black businesses in Oakland, where he's from, stealing their ATM machines, stealing their cash registers, all that. The black people on there crying. Leave it up to Mr. Information Man. He gonna say that's okay, Brandon, because Tulsa. The people of Tulsa received reparations in 1925, rebuilt their community. Black Wall Street still stands there to this day. Nobody shops at it. Black people don't support it. That's the facts. And he wants to bring up the case of two people who were kids when that happened. You right, they're not going to get reparations. They didn't own shit. But the people who did own stuff got reparations and built Tulsa. Simple Google search will reveal that. All these people do is try to appeal to emotions while lying to you so you won't go do the research for yourself. Every black person in here lives a black experience. We know who's committing crime in our community. We know who's shooting up the damn school, shooting up the clubs, shooting up. This is why black people can't even have a damn club or a party or any type of get together in black communities, because it always gets shot up. I guess white people shooting up the Martin Luther King parade every year in Compton and in LA and in Long Beach. I guess white people doing that. I guess white people shooting up the Juneteenth festivals in Texas and all over the damn place, Undiners. That's black people doing that. And if you keep on trying to deflect black crime away from black crime by talking about what white people are doing, guess what? It does nothing for you. If white people were so bad, why is it that as soon as black people get money, they go move among white people? If Asians were so bad, why is it when black folks get money, they go move among Asians? They get away.
Brandon. According to Tariq Nasheed, those are the Jamaicans. Those are the Nigerians doing that, Brandon.
Let me correct something. Brandon, let me correct something that you said to me earlier.
Nothing I said.
Yeah, I can't correct you. This is what I do. This is what I do, Brandon. This is what I do. Let me tell you what I do. Let me tell you what I do, Brandon. Brandon, I don't put anybody. Let me make this statement that I'm gonna drop off if I'm not gonna go back and forth. For everybody in the chat room, what I want to say.
Why do black
what I want to say?
White neighborhoods.
I'll explain that. I'll explain that. But let me correct something that you said that was incorrect about me personally, Brandon. I don't work as a correctional office in the prison system.
Prison.
Well, listen, you will learn something. This is what I do. This is what I do. I don't lock. Listen. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what. This is. No. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I do in the prison system. What I do is I work in mental health. They have a mental health program. I'm a counselor, a therapist. I work with helping black men. This is what I do. This is what I do. I help. This is what I do. I help. If you would shut up and find out. What I do is I help. What I do is I help black men get out of prison, dummy.
Of black men at the
let me complete what I'm saying here. What I do is I help black men in prison. I counsel black men and I help them to get out of prison. I help them. Yes, I do. I help them to get out of prison. My job is to work with young men and helping them transition from out of prison, Brandon. That's what I do, fool. And I deal with young men. I deal with young men who are struggling with mental health problems. And my job is to counsel them, help them. And then I also help them to transition to leaving prison and not coming back to prison, Brandon, you dumbass. That's what I do, dummy. I'm helping more black men than you do, Brandon, because I'm actually helping them to not come back to prison. I counsel them. I work with them with their families when when they dealing with their mental health problems. That's what I do, Brandon. I've been doing it for many years, and I've actually through. And this the thing. This the thing, Brandon. This the thing, Brandon. Not only do I help black men in the prison system in my job capacity to keep them from coming back to prison, but I also, on the flip side of that, Brandon, through my organization, my fraternal organization, I send tons of black young men to college, to skilled trades, mentoring them. I've been doing that since I was 19 years old. So I'm helping black men that are not in prison, that are in the community, trying to go to school and do better for themselves. And then I deal with black men that are in the prison system who want to change their life and get out of prison. So I help them on both ends of the goddamn equation. I'm doing more for black men and have since I was 19 than you have done anything, Brandon. Brandon, all you do is sit on YouTube and talk about black people like a dog, criticize black people like a dog. That's all you do, Brandon. That's all you do with your fat ass is sit on the YouTube streets and talk shit about black people. But I, Brandon, have done more for black people that are not in the system, and then I also help those that are in the system to not be in the system anymore. And I'm actually helping brothers in the penal system who are saying, I want to change my life.
Ask y'all a question. Information man and Brandon, can I ask y'all both a question?
Yes, sir, brother.
This question is for Brandon and Information man. Brandon, is it possible that both things could be true? What I mean by both things being true, meaning that yes, there is a issue with black on black crime. Even Amos Wilson talked about it and wrote a book about it. But also, there's an overwhelming majority of black people who are law-abiding citizens. What is the middle ground, Brandon, Information man? That's my question.
If why didn't Elijah Muhammad use all the excuses that Information man is using when he told the black man that he needs to get his act together and stand up and be a man in his community? He was closer to the Tulsa race massacre than we were. He was closer to slavery than we were. He was closer to the KKK roaming the streets and marauding and getting black people than we were. Do you guys understand how ignorant and disingenuous it is for somebody who lives in 2024 to use that shit as an excuse more than somebody who lived during that time? And right after it, you Booker T. Washington didn't even make up all the damn excuses that Mr. Information man is.
I made no excuses about anything. That's a lie. Stop lying on me.
This is why I'm trying to tell you.
I didn't make any excuses. You said that white people don't commit that white people get away with crimes, that they don't get away with crimes. And I simply said, I gave you examples where white people did get away with crime. So what are you talking about? I'm not making any excuses, but let me answer Mr. Lee Clinton's question. Mr. Lee, can I answer your question?
I was answering.
Can I answer it? Let me answer your question, because you're just filibustering right now, Brandon, talking about I'm misleading. I'm making excuses. I didn't make any excuses. You still haven't answered my question about why white people were able to get away with stuff and never get labeled as criminals. I think Lee had asked you that question, and you still didn't answer my damn question. You're the one evading questions. Now, Mr. Lee, what I'm saying, what I like to say to you, brother, is that you're right. Two can be the same. We are gonna have people in our community that engage in criminality, right? And I feel that we should at least recognize that we have people in our community that are doing wrong, right? But we should not make those in our community. Can I speak, please? Because I want to answer his question. You already answered the question. So I want to answer the question. I would like to answer the question, please.
Dr. Claude Anderson used these excuses.
I'm not making excuses. Brandon, I said what I had said to you. I said what I had said to you, Brandon, because you said that white people hold white people accountable. What I said is, Brandon, you sat up here and said that when white people commit crimes, they are held accountable by the system. And I gave examples where they were not held accountable. That's why I said that, Brandon. That's not an excuse. That's a fact.
Immediately following the Tulsa race massacre than they are doing now. You're trying to tell me that the impact of the Tulsa race massacre hopscotched the people who lived during that time and came down and affected us 50,
no, I didn't say that. Brandon,
information.
I didn't say that. You're full of crap. You said it. No, Brandon. Brandon, you said up here. Brandon, you said up here, and you said that white people are always held accountable for their crimes. I simply brought up the Tulsa, Oklahoma race riot because that was an example of how white people got away with killing black people, and they still get away with killing us today. So no, I'm not. No, this Negro right here is a Donald Trump sycophant. That's what we got right here on the panel. We got a Donald Trump dick sucker right here. We got a Negro who's got Donald Trump in his ass so far that he's willing to go to bat for anything that the Republicans or the Democrats do. Oh, Negro, please. Both these political parties ain't doing shit for black people at the end of the day. So, Mr. Lee Clinton, I'd like to answer your question. I'd like to just simply say this. Simple as this. I think that we should recognize that there are black people that commit crimes, and when they commit crimes, we should recognize that they don't represent us, but recognize that what they did is wrong, it's horrible, like every other group. When white people, Asian people, or Latino people have people who commit crime in their community, they look at them and say, hey, those guys committed crime, but they don't represent us. You don't have Latinos and Asians running around internalizing this shit and saying, oh, it represents us. No, they just simply look against it. I'm not saying that we should parade criminals and make excuses for them. But see, I'm not making excuses. What I did, Mr. Lee Clinton, is that Brandon has said earlier that white people, when they commit crimes, that they're held accountable by their own white people. And I brought up the Tulsa, Oklahoma situation and the Emmett Till only because, not as an excuse, but to say, no, that's not true. There are a lot of white people that have gotten away with harming black people. That's why I said what I said. That was what I said. That's the truth. And let me say this too. I'm going to say this. I didn't vote for anybody because I don't believe in either party. I didn't vote for Trump. And guess what? Because I've met Kamala Harris before I know her, I don't like Kamala Harris.
You work in the prison system with
No, what I do, this is what I've done before, Brandon. My career has more to do with what I've done with youth. I've worked with youth, and in the prison system, my capacity in mental health is to help black men and other individuals that are incarcerated to transition them out of prison. And then why I'm not working in prison to help black men in prison, I actually do work out of prison where I'm working with youth who are not committing crimes, but getting them into college, mentorship, connecting them with black men that are doing things in business. That's what I'm doing, Brandon. I'm doing more than you. Brandon, what do you do? Brandon, what do you do? Brandon, what do you do? What do you do? This man, nothing. Brandon, what do you do? What are you doing? What do you do in your community, Brandon, to work with black men? Are you sending black men to college? Are you helping black men who have had criminal past that are trying to change their life? Are you getting them out of prison? I am. Are you helping people with their mental health problems? Have you mentored youth? Have you mentored teenagers? Have you mentored children? How many people have you sent into work programs like I have? How many black men have you gotten into college who came from rough communities like I worked in the Housing Sunnydale Project in San Francisco when I was in college at 21 years old, helping youth and helping these young men who are now adults and are married today and are very successful? How many black men have you helped? Then on the backside, I'm actually helping black men, yes, who are in prison, who are trying to change their life, that are trying to get out of prison. And what I'm doing is I'm a link to helping them to move towards getting out of prison, and then when they get out, helping them with services to make sure that they don't come back to prison, fool. So I'm working on both ends, working with youth and working with adult men and helping them. I'm not a correctional officer or anything like that nature. So Brandon, while you run your mouth and bump your goddamn gums on YouTube all day long, I'm actually out here in the community making a difference, Brandon. Now, when you say, where am I from? I'm originally from the hood of Baltimore, Maryland, baby, okay? From Baltimore, born in Baltimore, lived in Oakland for about damn near 15 years, lived in the Fillmore, Hunters Point area, Hunters Point, Potrero Hill, I'm from the Bay Area as well, brother. So don't sit up here and act like, oh, this dude lives around white people. I've lived around black people. I've lived around black people all my life. I've lived around black people all my life. Where do you live at, Brandon? Where do you live at? Huh? Where do you live at? Brandon, where do you live at? Do you live in South Central? Do you live away from Negroes? Because as much as you keep talking about, as much as you keep talking about black people move away from black people, have you moved away from black people? Where you live at?
I live in
Where you live at? Okay, then what? So then if you don't live,
where do you live? You can't.
I already told you, Oakland, fool. I just told you. No.
Wife on camera.
No.
You got one. Or your
No. Where's your white woman at? Where's your white woman? Where's your white woman, Brandon? See, now what he's doing, because he can't meet my argument, everybody, he's throwing out little shots at me when he doesn't know anything about me.
Where's your wife? You don't have one.
Where's your wife? Where's your wife, Brandon?
Right here. My wife right here.
Okay.
On my channel, millions.
But why are we talking about wives? Did I say anything? But Brandon, because I didn't say anything about your wife. Because why am I talking about your wife, Brandon? Did I say everybody in the chat room? Did I say anything about Brandon's wife? I don't go into people's personal life, Brandon.
White wife, I'm telling you right.
No, I don't have a white wife.
You don't got a white wife or a white
No.
wife. I'm telling you.
No, brother. No, you're a liar. No.
You're like me. I know you're type.
No. Then you have a white wife. If you know my type, that means you have a white wife. Then, Brandon, because you said you know me.
We know
you said because I'm from California that I have a white wife. No, I don't.
Hey, I'm from California too, and I know your Bay Area liberal types. And you guys usually got a white wife or a white boyfriend.
No.
If you're not
I had already said, ladies and gentlemen in the chat room. I already said, ladies and gentlemen in the chat room, that I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I've been an independent. I did not vote in this election for either Trump, and I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I don't like Kamala Harris. Matter of fact, this shows you how dumb Brandon is, everybody. I've got videos on my channel criticizing Kamala Harris, and I criticize Trump, and I've criticized the Congressional Black Caucus. I've talked about the lack of leadership by the Black Caucus. I have videos on my channel. Y'all can go over to my channel and y'all can watch the videos. This is why Brandon is dumb. I have videos where I clown Kamala Harris. I talk about her like a dog. Matter of fact, I know a lot about Kamala Harris because Willie Brown is my fraternity brother. He's in my alumni chapter. So I know what was going on between Willie and her and how she got her come up. Brandon, you're stupid. You don't know much about me, brother. I'm very well connected, brother, in the Bay. So you need to shut up. You better shut up. You need to shut up because you're speaking lies. Now you start to do personal attacks. Oh, he's got a white woman. I ain't got no white woman. I've never had a white woman a day of my life. I like black women. No, I'm not a Bay Area liberal. So if I'm a Bay Area liberal, what are you, Brandon? Brandon, what are you? What are you, Brandon? What are you, Brandon? What are you, Brandon? What are you, Brandon? This guy is stupid, y'all. This guy's stupid. You know what? I'm gonna laugh at you right now. It's time to laugh right now. Here we go.
Tell the truth.
You're a goddamn fool. I laugh at you again. Brandon is a dumbass. He's up here lying with his coon ass. I laugh at you, sucker. All the stuff that you've been saying is lies. Laugh at you all of it.
Tell the truth.
Tell the truth. Tell the lies. Tell the lies. Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon is a coon. He's one of the biggest coons on the YouTube streets. This Negro sat up here and told y'all that white folks always get held accountable when they attack us. And we know that that's not true, Brandon, that white people have gotten off for putting their hands on black. Now, let me tell you something else. Let me tell you something else about Brandon, y'all. This is why he's disingenuous. Brandon failed to tell y'all that in LA, where he lives at, you had Latino gangs attacking. You had Latino gangs attacking black people in their project housing complexes. They were bombing them out. Won't you tell people about that, Brandon? Won't you tell people about the Latino gangs that come over from Mexico, right? The Nateños, what is it? Not the Nateños, the Serranos, who gone into black communities and were messing with black people. Have you guys heard about that? Have you guys heard about the Latino gangs that attack black people? It was, I think some of those Latino gang members were arrested eventually, and they were brought to trial. But they were going into black areas. What was it? What was the name of those communities? What's the name of those communities, Brandon? What's the name of those communities?
LA County. Yeah.
Okay, now, Dinas, am I telling the truth or not? That there were a group? No. We gotta tell truth here now. Tell the truth, Brandon. See, Brandon wants to set up here and make everybody think that other groups have not attacked black people. Now, Dinas, isn't it true? Because I did videos about this. That there was a gang faction in LA that was trying to move black people out of a particular area of LA because they wanted to control the streets, control the drug trade, and they were throwing cocktails through the windows, terrorizing black people in this housing project area. I think at least two of them, or if not one, it was a Latino gang, and Latinos always are preying on black people in LA. Is that true, Dinas?
Requested the Mexican mafia, but yeah, that definitely.
And Dinas, let me say this, Dinas. The reason why I know this is true, Dinas, because I get reports at work about how the gangs are operating in the streets and what they're doing and how they're attacking. Matter of fact, this shows you how Brandon is dumb. In my job capacity, when I go through training, so you don't want to hear this truth, they tell us about what the gangs are doing, Dinas, and who they are attacking on the streets. Dinas, did you know this, Dinas? That the Mexican mafia, I want everybody to hear this truth. Did you know that the Mexican mafia has had a green light on black people, particularly in the LA area, because they believe that California belongs to them and they want to move our asses out. The Mexican mafia has a green light on black people, which is why you had those bombings in LA, Dinas, and everyone listening, that happened some years ago. And these Mexican gangs still attack black people because they want the territory, they want the drug control, and they're attacking. He doesn't want to tell you the truth. I know this because I got the details from work. I know what these gang structures are doing, and they are attacking black people. Not everything that happens to black people, everybody, is on the news. So why Brandon sits up here and lies and says that these groups don't attack us, Dinas, sometimes things happen to black people by these other groups that never makes the fucking news, my brother, and you never know about it.
All the time.
Unless you live in these communities, and then you would know this is what's happening.
All the time, black people.
But this guy right here wants to make everybody think that black people are the criminals, that we are the lead criminals of America, and that no other groups ever try to attack us. Not everything makes the news, Brandon, you dummy. And I laugh at you again.
Dinas, you live in LA, right?
I used to live in LA.
Dinas, but you haven't answered. I want you to answer, but Dinas, what I just said to you, though, Dinas, is it true or not, Dinas?
Brandon just asked me. Go ahead, Brandon.
Dinas, you lived in LA. Did you hear about more blacks killing blacks or more Hispanics killing blacks?
Blacks killing blacks, of course.
Murdering each other like cockroaches in
But you just said, the reason why I make that argument, Dinas, is because he set up on your platform and he said that other ethnic groups, I'm not denying that black people don't attack other black people. Never denied that today. But when you set up here and say that other ethnic groups never attack black people, and we know that they have attacked us. Now, maybe they're not doing it in large numbers. It's not jumping up in the news, but there have been incidents in Los Angeles where black people have been attacked by these Mexican or Latino gangs that have given them a red light from the Mexican mafia. And you know why I know this too? Because I also deal, Dinas, no, he's telling you lies. You know why I know this, Dinas, too? Because I also deal with the Mexican gangs and the Bloods and the Crips at work, and they tell me shit that goes on that they committed. And then when I look at their criminal files and I find out who they attacked, who they terrorized, guess what? Latinos, like other groups, they will attack their own. That's true. But they also attack us. And a lot of this shit doesn't hit the 10 o'clock news, damn it. And this is what he's not telling everybody, that he thinks that everything that happens to black people is only black people. Yes, black people attack black people, but there are other groups that also do things to us. And sometimes it doesn't make the news. It doesn't become this big national story, but we do get attacked by other ethnic groups. And matter of fact, we've always been in a situation, Dynas, and everyone listening, we've always had other ethnic groups who did not like us. That's the reason why I brought up the history of LA when you had white gangs there. In Chicago, the first gangs that were in Chicago were the white gangs back in the 1920s, right? In the 40s, right? They were the criminality. When black people moved up north and moved west, they started attacking black people, which is how you got the gang structure in the first place. Tell him if he knows about this. One of the groups that formed in LA before the Crips and Bloods was the Celestines. If you know your goddamn history, Brandon. And the Celestines were formed because there was a white gang in Los Angeles that used to wear jackets where they had pictures of black men being hung on their jackets, and they would chase after and they would attack. They would attack black people. So I'm bringing this here because you don't want history to be told. I'm bringing this up, Dynas. Only bringing this up to say that the other ethnic groups have had a history of attacking black people. However, we can't accept black people attacking black people either, Dynas. We cannot accept. Everybody listening. We still cannot accept black people attacking black people. So I'm going to stand on that. We cannot accept black people attacking black people. I agree with that. But we have to stop attacking each other. But we can't sit up here and say that other groups have never attacked us. That's not true. It's not true.
And apologize for
I'm not making excuses. I don't like black people who commit crime on other black people. I don't like it. I don't like it.
But lie and say that you're against people being locked up. That doesn't make any sense, because if black people stop getting locked up, you'll be out of a job.
This is the thing. Guess what, Brandon? Even if I didn't work in the prison system, you guys, prior to working in the prison system in mental health, I was already working in programs with youth. Okay, I have 2 bachelor's degrees. I got 2 master's degrees. I'm well educated, so I can pivot anywhere within my position. I work in mental health, which means what? I can work in the prison system. I can work in the regular hospitals. I can work in clinics. I can work anywhere, dummy. Brandon, I can work anywhere, Brandon. I'm a very well-educated black man here. I'm not limited to just a prison environment. Like I said, prior to working in the prison environment, I worked most of my time working with children, youth, who had disabilities emotionally and physically that were being abused by their parents, right? So this whole thing, now, what I said earlier to everybody is that I clearly told Brandon the dummy that I actually help brothers in the prison system who are trying to change their life and want to move forward with their life out of the prison system. And at the same time, Dynas, just like you've done too, Dynas, I also involved in my organization's programs, helping and mentoring youth to get themselves moving forward in their careers, in their life. So I'm doing it from both ends of the candlestick, ladies and gentlemen. This man is simply a coon who gets on YouTube every day. I don't be on YouTube every day. This man is on YouTube every day, everybody, running his mouth, and most of his commentary is about what's wrong with black people. Like most black Republicans, they spend most of their time talking about what's wrong with the black community, yet these Negroes are not running for no office. Brandon, why don't you run for office? Brandon, you know so much. Are you running for office? Brandon, when are you running for office? When you running for mayor? When you running for ultimate, whatever the hell they call it? When are you running for office? Since you got all the goddamn answers. Since you got all
black people.
All you got to do, all you have to do, everybody, is go to my channel, The Information Man Show, and I've got videos on that channel criticizing Kamala Harris as well as Donald Trump. I'm going in on her. I have no favorable content on my channel about Kamala Harris. The proof is in the pudding. Go to my channel, everybody, The Information Man Show, and you will see videos where I call out Kamala Harris. I call out Obama. I did a video about Obama where I called him out when he was wagging his finger at black men about voting for Kamala Harris. I got it all on my channel. This Negro right here is lying to y'all. All you got to do is look at my content on my channel and it will show you, that I'm not running around here pushing no Democratic shield stuff. But this man here is pushing the Republican shit, and the Republicans don't give a damn about black people. Donald Trump don't give a damn about black people. His base is white people. He care about them. He don't care about us. This Negro right here, can't keep his ass off of YouTube every day running his mouth. Oh, please.
Why would please from prisons want to keep people out of prisons? If they keep people out of prisons, they will lose their job. That's common sense.
I won't lose my job. Brandon, you're stupid. I'm a licensed clinical therapist. I have opportunity to work anywhere, dummy. So even if they close the prison down, I'm still employable in any medical facility, you dummy. I got over 25 years in the business, you dummy. You dumb. You dumb. He's sitting up here telling y'all he's sitting up here telling y'all that if the prison closed down, I'll be out of a job. No, I won't, dummy. I'm well educated. I can work anywhere, Brandon. I can work for the VA, which, by the way, when I was in college, I did an intern at the VA where I worked with guys that were veterans of the military. Have you ever worked with veterans of the military? Brandon, let me ask you this question. Brandon, have you ever worked with anybody that you've helped besides yourself? Have you worked with military?
How do you work in a prison but claim you want to keep people out of prison? That will put you out of a job. And
no, this is how it works. This is how it works. What I do is the black men, the white men, the Latino men that I deal with, I'm in a capacity of helping people not to return to prison. That's the capacity of my job. I haven't exposed myself. I have not exposed myself. No, I'm helping to get guys out of prison, you dumbass. I'm helping them to get out, dummy. I'm helping them to get out. You're dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb. You're dumb. What are you doing? What are you doing, Brandon? Brandon, what are you doing for black people? Everybody ask Brandon my resume is powerful. I've done a lot of shit for black men. What are you doing for black men, Brandon? What are you doing for black men? What are you doing for black men? I'm doing plenty of things for black men. Tell me what you're doing for black men. I'm waiting. What are you doing for black men?
For black men.
What are you doing for black men? What are you doing for black men? What are you doing for black men? Let me see. I'll wait for the crickets, because you got no answers. So what are you doing for black men?
I'm not working in a prison.
What are you doing? What are you doing for black men? What are you doing for black men?
Listen, guys.
I'm not making excuses. Listen, guys. Actually, guys, listen to what I'm saying right now. I'm actually helping black men that are in the prison system, who are trying to get out, who are in the process of getting out of prison, and I'm helping them so that they don't come back to prison, you dumbass. This is how I'm helping them. First of all, the black men that I deal with, but it's not just black men, it's other men, but black men in particular. A lot of the black men I'm dealing with, because there's all types of people in prison, dumbass. There's all type of racial, ethnic groups in prison. You got white men in prison, you got Latinos in prison. So then what I do with the black men that I deal with is that when they come to me, these are black men. I've dealt with thousands of black men over the years. Thousands. What are you talking about? It's a prison. You deal with thousands of people. You deal with hundreds of people. You deal with 50 here, 50 there. What are you talking about? So basically what I do, everybody, is that when people have mental health problems and the general mental health problems in the system, they come to what we call acute unit. So when they come to an acute unit, My goal is not to act as a jailer or a correctional officer. I'm working with counseling, helping them. If they got family, we're reuniting them and connecting them to connection to their family on the outside. I talk to them about their potential parole out of prison and how they're going to transition going back to the community. So I provide them with services so that they don't come back to prison. Also, there are guys that are lifers who won't leave prison. And so I'm trying to work with them to help them to manage the stress, the depression of being in an institution where they're incarcerated. My capacity is providing service to help men who are going through these things. Then what I also do in my capacity on the outside of my job, everybody, is that I work with youth. And I've been working with youth since I was 19 years old. And my goal is to mentor youth. And part of that mentorship is to keep them in the straight and narrow of not doing what? Going into crime, because I deal with guys that are coming out of their criminal activity who are trying to come back to the community. So I'm working with black men and youth before they even, so that they don't go to prison. And I'm also working with those that are leaving prison so that they don't come back to prison and become a part of that system. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm helping. Right now, the young men that I've helped over the years, which is in the hundreds, is that I have connected young men. We have a program called Project Alpha, where we mentor, we get black men who are educated, black men that are professionals. So let's say I have a young man who wants to be a doctor, wants to be a lawyer. We connect them with black men who are lawyers and doctors so that they can get mentored by those programs. We also work with Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. We also work with March of Dimes programs and stuff of that nature. We also have a program where we mentor young black men to teach them the ills of the ills of teenage pregnancy. So if a young man gets a young lady pregnant, we try to work with them in terms of what is your responsibility if you impregnate a young lady. But the goal is to say, no, don't impregnate young ladies. We also have a program within the Alpha Project in which we work with the family members, the fathers and the mothers, when it comes to the issues with their child. We also we also make a connection to the high school, where we go into the high schools and we identify those young black males who may need extra mentorship to keep them from not doing well in school. So we identify young youth males who may be no, I'll tell you who my organization, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which I've been a member of over 34 years. It's Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity. You can look it up, everybody. We have a program called Project Alpha. See, he's not telling you what he's doing, everybody. I'm giving you tangibles. So if you look at Project Alpha, every chapter, whether it be alumni chapter or a undergrad chapter, we have programs like Project Alpha. We have programs like Alpha Academies. That's the one I wanted to bring up. We have this thing called Alpha Academy. Every alumni chapter has some form of an Alpha Academy. And the Alpha Academy is the area where we do intense tutorials with youth. And we also bring in black professionals for those black youth who have a desire to do what? Be a lawyer, be a doctor, what have you. Right? Tutorial. So we have what we call Dynas is a member of KA Psi. They have similar programs where they mentor. They may have an intense educational program where they're working. Now, this is the way the Alpha Academy works. You have the kids meet with us on the weekends. So it'd be the second weekends of each month. And we also take them out on trips to see things outside of their community, right? So let's say a kid comes from a pretty rough community. We want to take them and let them see something different from what they see in their community so that they can see that there's a whole big world out there of possibilities. We match them up with brothers that are lawyers, doctors, chemists, because if they want to be in these positions, you want them to see somebody that looks like them. So we have those programs. We also have a program in the Alpha Academy where we work with the parents, the mother and the father. If the father's not in the life of the child, we try to figure out what's going on there. We also identify the schools that they're in, and we try to make a liaison to the school, whether it be the high school, the junior high school, or elementary school, where we can track these young men And we also give out scholarships. Dynas, KSI does the same thing. So, Dynas, you know how this works. We also have scholarships where we award scholarships to young men and ladies as well that we have been tracking since they were young. And then we reward them these scholarships and we try to help them to matriculate themselves through this. That's what I do. That's what I do.
How do we verify anything you're doing? No one knows who you are. We don't know your name, nothing. You don't even show your face. Bro, you're just saying shit.
What are you talking about? Wait a minute. Everybody, if you go to my YouTube, Dynas, check this out. This is why you're dumb, Brandon. If you go to my YouTube channel, I don't hide behind an avatar. I show myself. Now, Dynas, you've seen me plenty of times come on your channel where I show myself. And if you go to my YouTube channel with Information Man Show, all my videos, I show myself. I'm not telling you my name because I don't even. You don't need to know my name. Why would I tell you? I don't. Why would I tell you my name, Brandon, when you are a coon and you're disrespectful? And I'm not going to tell you shit.
So they could look into these claims you making.
No.
Exactly. That's what
you're
I'm
so
telling
full
you.
of shit.
The black community has to stop letting people come and talk shit to them who don't even respect you enough to tell you their name. How do you know you're not listening to a con artist right now? He said all the things.
Let me see. Let me see. On my channel, Dynas, I don't con people. I don't demand people to give me money.
First name.
I don't. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know my name. You don't need to know my name.
You are a figment.
Dynas know who I am. I don't need to tell you.
Dynas don't fucking know you.
You don't need to know me. You don't need to know me. There's other people that know me, but you don't need to know me.
I'm telling you,
you don't need to know me. This is why I'm telling you guys. Nobody needs to tell you. I'll say this as I drop off. Everybody, go over to my channel. Go over to my channel, and you will see that I show myself. I show myself.
Do you guys notice how these people with no names, these nameless people?
No, I show myself. I show myself.
Bro, we don't know you.
I show myself. I don't know you. I don't know you.
I don't know you.
Brandon. What I will say to everybody, if you go over to my channel, I just want to say this. I show myself.
My name is John Doe, and I fly 1 million kids to Africa every year and teach them about African history. How would anyone verify that if they don't know us?
I don't need to know you. I don't need to know you, though, Brandon. I don't want to know you.
You have a business. I don't know you. I know your name. I know you. This guy is just a face on the internet making all these claims.
What claims did I make?
But this is what black people like. We like serious, shadowy figures. So when
I'm not shadowy. I'm not shadowy.
Well, I don't know that nigga like that. There's zero accountability.
I'm not shadowy. I'm not shadowy.
Not accountable.
I'm not shadowy.
You're just saying stuff.
Because Brandon, you try to. You set up there. So what? I don't know you. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Somebody. How do we know you work for somebody?
I don't work for anybody. I don't work for you. I don't work for you.
Brandon Tucker, who are you? I'm Brandon Tucker. Who are you?
I don't want to know you. I don't need to know your name. Brandon, I don't need to know your name.
Stop listening to people.
I don't know. Stop listening.
They are.
I don't need to. I don't want to know you. I don't want to know you. That's why I'm not asking you questions. I'm not asking you questions.
We know who O'Shea Duke Jackson is. We know who Anthony Brian Logan is. We know who Brandon Tatum is. We know who Jimmy Dore is. All these people are okay with telling their name. Why is this guy hiding?
The reason why I'm not going to tell my name,
the reason why you're not going to tell,
I don't need to tell my name to you.
Only thoughts hide their identity. Only thoughts hide their identity.
I don't need to know your name. That's why I'm not asking you. I don't care. I don't care about your name. I'm not phony.
Everyone up here, this audience knows their first name and their last name. The only people who don't know, the only person we don't know is you. So all these other people on YouTube give their names, right? Ain't nothing bad happening to them. But you're so mysterious, you so important, you can't tell us your name. Guys, stop being misled by these frauds, dude. These guys get on the you think that they're doing all this, but there's no way to verify any of it. And that's why we don't get anywhere. It's just like Jam Master Jay and all these other frauds, Tariq Nasheed. They give you fake names so that when it comes time to hold them accountable, you can't never pin them down to a point. I'm not falling for that. If y'all want to fall for that, that's fine. But if someone can't even tell me their first name, I'm not listening to them. Would you do business with somebody who said, I'm not even going to tell you my first name? Would you rent a apartment from them or buy a house from them if they said, I'm not going to tell you my first name? This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. Stop disrespecting yourselves by listening to con artists who, when they leave you high and dry, there's no way to hold them accountable. Even that criminal freaking, I'm not going to call him a criminal, but there's even people who are scamming who at least respect you enough to give you their first and last name. These guys are so important that you can't know who they are, like Professor Black Truth and all these.
Tell the truth.
And sister, where you don't even know their name. Dinus. If someone calls you their brother,
let Brandon speak. Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
Dinus, if someone calls you their brother or sister or tell you they got your best interest at heart, would you let someone cut your grass, Dinus, if you didn't know their first and last name?
Cut my grass?
Cut your damn grass. Come in with a lawnmower and cut your grass if you didn't even know his first name.
I mean, the last person that cut my grass, I didn't know his first or last name.
You had to write him a check?
I just gave him cash.
Okay, so you didn't even know if his name was Juan or Pedro or nothing.
He was cutting yards in the neighborhood. I said, hey, I need to come get my yard.
Well, guess what? At least other people knew who he was, right? He had a track record that you could look at, right? He cut the yard down the street. So I know he ain't broken a house yet. So I know he ain't gonna break in my house. There's some type of trust-based system there. How do you get on the internet and listen to somebody who you don't even know? And then they want you, but they're trying to convince you that what they're saying is in your best interest. These are my brothers and sisters. What brother do you know where you don't even know his name? That's my question. I'm not good. Black folks are naturally distrusting until we're not. But I'm not gonna let somebody cut my grass and I don't know their name because they could fall on my front lawn and try to sue my ass. You're not gonna let a dude work on your car if you don't know his first name. But you gonna get up here and trust this dude with your mind, with your brain, and your future in this country. These people have no respect for you. That's why they constantly bombard you with trauma. All he did was get up here and, Tulsa, Emmett Till. Like I said before, people who lived at that time didn't even use that shit as an excuse, Dinus. Elijah Muhammad didn't bring up slavery. Martin Luther King didn't bring up no damn Tulsa race massacre. Booker T. Washington didn't bring up no damn Tulsa race massacre. That happened after him. But period. If the people who lived at that time didn't use it as an excuse, Dinus, why are we now who live 75, 80 years later trying to use it as an excuse? Does that make sense to you?
Right.
That's like somebody who was born in 2010 using the 1994 LA riots as an excuse. Well, you know, I failed my math class because of the 1994 LA riots. That's literally what we try to do. We literally try to use things that really have nothing to do with us as an excuse to allow our communities to stay in turmoil. And I'm telling you, I've dealt with these types many a times before. You cannot eat from the table. The Bible says that a slave cannot serve two masters. He will love one and despise the other, or he will love the other and despise the one. That's what the Bible says. You can't eat from the hands of white supremacy in the California prison system and then claim to be fighting against it. You can't do that. If black men stop going to jail, he's out of a job. And ain't a single one of these Negroes about to give up their job to save black folks. But he wants you to think, I'm helping black people. What black people you helping? Show them to us. But I could pull up everything I do. I've pulled up my Facebook, my Like Minds organization, my OAP, all that. Dynas could pull up his travel agency, his tour agency, and all that stuff. This channel and my channel, this little circle of Pan-Africanism is about proof. You got to show and tell. Show us what you're doing. Don't just tell us. Show and tell. So anybody just getting up trying to tell, we're not listening to no folk songs and no damn mythology. We want to know what you're doing, where you're doing, and how do we participate in it, or how can we take advantage of it if it's something worth taking advantage of. If he's helping these young black men, Dynas, a lot of people watching this show got young sons. Why don't he give you his contact so you can get your son in the alpha, whatever it is? Because he's a liar. That's why. They know that they could get up in front of y'all and pretend to be something that they're not. And yes, sounds good, because that's all it's got to do is sound good. That's why you don't see people like me and Dynas getting up here grandstanding, because we're like, dude, if we make a claim or say we doing X, Y, Z, we got to deliver on that shit. Am I wrong, Dynas?
No, you're right.
So I'm not going to sit up and even pretend to compete with some loser who all he got to do is throw out a bunch of stuff. Like this dude, Dynas, like, man, I'm taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Man, I'm a Wing Chun black. Let me turn off my camera, Dynas. Let me turn off my camera. And now I'm going to be up here claiming I'm a Wing Chun black belt. And I done beat 100 men. And I'm undefeated in hand-to-hand combat. I don't got to prove anything because no one knows who I am. Even Nak Meezy, when he talk about fighting, he can produce video of him fighting. I got this fight, that fight. I fought this dude in my Muay Thai. Here's me training XYZ. I'm done with that shit. And in 2025, starting today, you should be done with that as well. Black people are at a point where we can no longer tolerate empty talk. Talk is cheap. Show us what you're doing. Don't just show us how we could take advantage of it. Dynas, what are you doing? Travel business, tourism, right?
Right.
I want to go to Africa. You can get me there, right?
Correct.
You ain't just sitting up here telling me, man, I got a tourism business and all that, and don't nobody know you, and we can't even find out what you're doing. That's why I should have kept coming on this show, because that's why they hated me on this show, because I used to make these Negroes prove what they was claiming. I'm probably the reason a lot of these dudes actually took their ass to Africa, because they didn't want to get up here and I clown their ass, whoop their socks in these debates because they ain't never done nothing. I don't deal with people who talk a bunch of shit but never did it and talk about what they doing but can't show nobody. Man, I build houses. Well, show me a model that you built up. But everything is entertainment for Negroes. You're gonna entertain your ass right up out of American society and be living like a fringe group in America, within America, like the gypsies. It's only a matter of time, Dynas, before we begging for money in front of grocery stores with our babies like the gypsies do. Because that's what happens when you don't want to work for nothing. And your community becomes synonymous with crime and grifting. But it is what it is, man. Brian Brown, you looking at me way too close.
Let me read these super chats. Shout out to John J. White peoples for the $10 holla. White peoples don't get away with white on white crime, period. The Democrats should have changed the subject from black on black crime to white on black crime. What else we got here? Tunde, peace to the panel. Thank you for the $9.99. Hey, that's it. So listen, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Also, make sure if you're watching this, please visit donfo.africa, and sign up for the mailing list so you can stay up to date to our next travels. So please visit donfo.africa. Till next time, family. Dynas and Search for Huru. Peace.